The school heartthrob and the homeroom teacher were having a secret affair, but they used me as a shield. I was pushed off the 10th floor by the school heartthrob's mother and died a pitiful death. My parents sought justice for me, but were repeatedly humiliated by online rumors, ultimately leading them to take their own lives by swallowing charcoal. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the moment just before the homeroom teacher called me to her office. The homeroom teacher, Su Yenji, wanted to assign Lin Yuran to be my desk mate. In my previous life, I agreed happily, only to become a pawn in their twisted game, dying an innocent and tragic death. This time, I smiled meaningfully and said, "I'm not very good at tutoring struggling students, Teacher Su. It would be more effective if you tutored him personally." I was reborn on the day Lin Yuran's mother came to the school to make a scene. In my previous life, I was deceived and used as a shield by Lin Yuran and Su Yenji, and in the end, I was pushed off the 10th floor by Lin Yuran's mother and died a tragic death. Heaven took pity on me and gave me a chance to start over. In the hallway, Lin's mother, adorned with pearls and jewels, was still arrogantly shouting outside every classroom, "Don't let me catch which little bitch seduced my son, otherwise, I'll tear your mouth apart." A flash of deep-seated hatred passed through my eyes. I was stunned for a moment before snapping back to reality, seeming to notice my unusual state. My deskmate Yu Qingqing leaned over, patted my shoulder, and asked worriedly, "Are you okay, Yang? Could it be that you're the one dating Lin Yuran?" I glanced at her, pushed her hand away, and said nothing. At that moment, the class monitor's call came from the classroom door, summoning me to the office. Everything was unfolding exactly as it had in my previous life. With a slight curve at the corner of my lips, I stood up, straightened my clothes, and headed toward the office. The show was about to begin. Inside the office, Su Yenji was live streaming. Su Yenji was not only our homeroom teacher but also a somewhat well-known online blogger. Her unique teaching style and ability to connect with students had quickly made her popular on the internet. Seeing me arrive, she adjusted her phone and a smile spread across her pretty, round face. I knew what she was about to do. Today was my birthday. On this day in my previous life, Su Yenji specially bought a cheap cake for me. It not only moved me to tears, making me obedient to her from then on, but also served as a show online, earning her a great reputation. Also on this day, she spread rumors that I came from a poor family and lacked love, then arranged for me to sit next to Lin Yuran to tutor him, laying the groundwork for my tragic ending. In this life, I certainly won't be that foolish again. I walked up to Su Yenji and watched coldly as she took out a small cake and handed it to me. Ding ding dong. "Happy birthday. This is a cake the teacher spent a whopping 80 yuan on for you. Take it quickly." Su Yenji put on an affected, high-pitched voice and performed in front of me, trying to pull me into her camera frame. I subtly avoided her hand and didn't take the cake, just smiled and said, 80, teacher, I happened to go to the cake shop today too. How come when I bought this exact cake, it only cost 8 yuan? Su Yenji began to panic a little. Bullet comments were scrolling frantically on the phone screen. Su Yenji shielded it slightly, a nauseatingly fake smile still plastered on her face. Gifts aren't about their price, only the sentiment matters. She placed the cake on a side table, deftly steering the conversation toward having me and Lin Yuran sit at the same table. I glanced awkwardly at her still live streaming phone screen, cleared my throat, and raised my voice. "I'm not very good at tutoring struggling students, Teacher Su. You'd probably be more effective doing it yourself, and besides," I paused, then continued, "Didn't Lin Yuran say in class last time that he wanted to keep his distance from all girls except you, Teacher Su? I think it's better if I keep some distance from him too." Su Yenji's face flushed with a mix of anger and embarrassment. She fumbled to turn off the live stream while scolding me. "What nonsense are you talking?" I put on a frightened expression, my voice tinged with grievance. "I'm not talking nonsense. Teacher, don't you like me? I even heard you telling Lin Yuran and that group of boys last time that girls are all boring." I was chased out of the office by Su Yenji. Her face was dark and stormy, but I was in a great mood, humming a tune all the way back to the classroom. After that incident, Su Yenji completely held a grudge against me, too. After evening self-study ended, my mom came to the school gate to pick me up and take me home. Seeing my mom again after 2 lifetimes, my nose tingled with emotion, and I threw myself into her arms. "Mom, I missed you so much." My mom was both amused and exasperated. She patted my back to comfort me. "Silly child, it's only been a day. Why do you act like it's been a lifetime?" I didn't say anything, just let my tears flow freely in her embrace. "Mom, you don't know. but we really were separated for a lifetime. In my previous life, I was deceived by Su Yenji, obeyed her every word, and under her schemes, I grew closer and closer to Lin Yuran. By the time I gradually realized what was happening, the rumors about me and Lin Yuran were already spreading like wildfire throughout the school. Not only that, but Lin Yuran had also changed the contact name for Su Yenji in his WeChat to mine, in places I didn't know about. I had completely become their shield for their secret romance. Lin Yuran's mother came to the school again and again, calling me a slut, a whore, and shameless, demanding that the principal expel me. I couldn't defend myself, crying over and over again that I hadn't done anything. I was tormented to the point of being mentally dazed, and my grades plummeted. Su Yenji comforted me again and again, and I foolishly felt grateful, not knowing how many times they had mocked me as an idiot behind my back, until I caught her and Lin Yuran having a secret meeting on the 10th floor rooftop of the school. I froze in place. Su Yenji quickly sprang out of Lin Yuran's embrace and pushed him a bit toward me. Before I could say anything, Lin Yuran's mother rushed out from somewhere. With a ferocious expression, she charged at me and pushed me off the 10th floor rooftop with brutal force. Die, you bitch! I fell to my death, my body mangled and bloody, a pitiful end. After I became a ghost, I finally realized how deeply I had been deceived by Su Yenji and Lin Yuran. The Lin family was powerful and influential, so his mother was only convicted of involuntary manslaughter and would be released after serving a 3-year prison sentence. My parents refused to accept this and appealed everywhere to seek justice for me. But they were drowned out by the deliberate public opinion spread by the Lin family. It's all because your daughter was shameless, knowing their family was wealthy, and tried to seduce their young master, Zhou Yang. She was just a country bumpkin who tried to climb the social ladder and failed miserably, unable to bear the humiliation and the pain of losing their daughter. My parents both committed suicide by swallowing charcoal. When they took their own lives, my soul hovered nearby, watching helplessly, utterly powerless to stop it. Consumed by hatred, my face streaked with bloody tears, I roared with unwillingness as my consciousness gradually faded into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn. In this life, I will not give them the slightest chance to frame me again. On the contrary, I will make every single one of them pay for what they have done. 3. The next morning, when I arrived at the classroom, a bottle of strawberry milk was conspicuously placed on my desk. Holding the milk, I walked a circle around the classroom, my gaze meeting Lin Yuran's expectant eyes. The surrounding classmates started teasing. Something's off. Lin Yuran pursed his lips and smiled, not saying a word to refute. In that instant, I understood. In this lifetime, Su Yenji and Lin Yuran had still chosen me as their shield. I didn't rush to toss the milk back to Lin Yuran. Instead, I unscrewed the cap, took a small sip, then smiled shyly at him and whispered, "Thank you." Yu Qingqing tugged at my sleeve from the side, looking very nervous. "What are you doing, Zhou Yang? Don't tell me you're the one dating Lin Yuran. If his mom catches you, you're done for." I turned my head, gave her a scrutinizing look, then offered a reassuring smile. "It's fine." During evening self-study, I secretly passed Lin Yuran a small note, asking him to meet me in the small grove behind the teaching building during the last self-study period. Lin Yuran seemed somewhat hesitant, his expression quite conflicted. After all, a teenager in his teens is full of youthful vigor. This secret and thrilling matter was simply too hard for him to resist. He only hesitated for a moment before agreeing to my invitation. The small grove at night was pitch black, quiet and dim, with only the faint sound of a few insects chirping. I leaned calmly against a tree, waiting for Lin Yuran to arrive. "Zhou Yang," came Lin Yuran's deliberately lowered voice. I replied softly, "I'm here." Lin Yuran moved closer to me. He was clearly a bit nervous, his hands clasped in front of him, constantly rubbing together. He didn't speak, and his breathing was somewhat rapid and heavy. I smiled at him, took the initiative to hold his hand, and whispered, "Lin Yuran, I like you." Lin Yuran was still unconsciously clutching the note I had given him tightly in his hand. I took it from him without a trace, crumpled it up, tore it to pieces, and let it scatter in the wind among these woods. Lin Yuran didn't notice. He moved even closer to me, his breathing almost brushing against my ear. Then trembling, he wrapped his arms around me and lowered his head to kiss my neck. In the darkness, I curled my lips into a smile. Someone who could get involved with their own teacher was clearly no good either. With just a little seduction, they took the bait. How laughable. I pulled open my shirt, unhooked my bra, then lifted my foot and kicked Lin Yuran hard between the legs. Lin Yuran cried out in pain. Instinctively bending over, tears welled up in my eyes as I cried out in a choked voice, "Help! Help! Teacher! Someone is bullying me." The blinding white light of a flashlight illuminated the entire area as a patrolling security guard rushed over, shouting, "Who's there? What's going on?" Staggering, I hid behind the security guard, tears streaming down my face even more fiercely, pointing at Lin Yuran, who was slumped on the ground. I sobbed, He tricked me into coming here, and then. He bullied me." For both Lin Yuran and I were called to the security office, where the guards summoned our homeroom teacher and the grade-level director. Lin Yuran's face flushed with shame as he stiffened his neck and pointed at me, roaring, "Zhou Yang is framing me. She was the one who asked me to go to the grove." Su Yanji glared at me with her willow leaf eyebrows furrowed, her tone hostile. "Zhou Yang, don't lie. I know Lin Yuran is a good kid." Hiding behind the grade-level director, I remained silent, only letting my tears fall quietly. The grade-level director shot Su Yanji an unhappy glance, then turned to comfort me. "Zhou Yang, tell the teacher what happened." I then began to sob and speak haltingly. "Lin Yuran asked me to go to the grove during self-study class to talk about something. So I went, and then he bullied me, touched me, inappropriately." "You're lying through your teeth. It was you who asked me to go," Lin Yuran roared out. I trembled like a frightened rabbit, my eyes reddening again. Just as the grade-level director was about to lose his temper, the security office door was suddenly pushed open, and Yu Qingqing walked in. She didn't dare to look at me, speaking softly only to the head teacher. "Teacher, I can testify. It was Zhou Yang who asked Lin Yuran. She accepted Lin Yuran's milk this morning, then passed him a note in the afternoon. I saw it with my own eyes." Lin Yuran's panic immediately subsided. He looked at me smugly and said, "Zhou Yang, you're still lying, exposed by your good friend, aren't you? Let's see how you try to talk your way out of this now." I didn't say anything, just quietly looked at Yu Qingqing. She was my best friend, or so I once believed. I had always steadfastly trusted her, but it wasn't until after my death in my previous life that I learned she had always disliked me, even hated me, because she liked Lin Yuran. She was jealous of me for being so close to him. Lin Yuran and I clearly weren't in a relationship, yet she still spread that rumor and anonymously texted Lin Yuran's mother about it. She also had a hand in the deaths of my parents and me. "Since you like Lin Yuran so much, Yu Qingqing, in this life, you can be their shield." I lowered my head, my eyes reddening again, and spoke hoarsely. "Qingqing, I've always known you liked Lin Yuran, but I never thought you would lie for him." As I spoke, I took a note from my pocket and handed it to the grade-level director. Ever since my rebirth, I had been practicing to imitate Lin Yuran's handwriting. This time was my most convincing attempt yet. After reading it, the dean was instantly furious. Lin Yuran had a powerful background, so she didn't dare to scold or hit him casually. She could only slam the note fiercely onto Yu Qingqing's face. "Puppy love, framing others. Yu Qingqing, you're getting more and more outrageous. Zhou Yang is ranked first in the grade. Would she lie?" Yu Qingqing was stunned and didn't dare to speak. Su Yanji stared fixedly at the handwriting on the fallen note, her tear-filled eyes full of disbelief. Lin Yuran glanced at Su Yanji in a panic, still shouting incessantly, "She's lying." I stood in the backlight, head lowered, shoulders trembling incessantly, seemingly sobbing in great sorrow. In reality, I was almost laughing to the point of tears. Idiots. What a trio of idiots. I was utterly foolish in my previous life to have been so easily deceived by them. 5. Early the next morning, Lin Yuran and Yu Qingqing's parents were called to the school. The first thing Lin's mother did upon entering the office was to slap Yu Qingqing hard across the face. "Shameless, take a look at yourself. What makes you think you're worthy, having a crush on my son? Admit it, was it you who seduced my son, causing his grades to keep slipping? Just as arrogant and rude as in the previous life." I leisurely crossed my arms and stepped aside to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. Yu Qingqing, already frail, staggered from the blow and fell to the ground, her cheek flushed red. Her parents kept apologizing to Lin's mother, bowing and scraping, while yanking her hair to force her to apologize as well. How pitiful. I watched with indifference. In my previous life, it was because of Yu Qingqing's parents, who favored sons over daughters, that I saw her constantly being beaten, scolded, and lacking food and clothing. I took pity on her, only to end up like the foolish man of Donghua. In this life, even if she dies right in front of me, I would only resent her Blood for dirtying my shoes, the head teacher coughed twice symbolically, interrupting Mrs. Lin's next round of insults. She pointed at me and spoke in a very tactful tone. Lin Yuran bullied this female classmate, and now she is proposing to call the police. Mrs. Lin, what is your proposed solution? Mrs. Lin looked me up and down arrogantly and sneered. Who knows if she's relying on her looks to seduce my son? Young girls these days have no shame, and besides, my son is so outstanding. I calmly pushed aside the head teacher in front of me and stepped forward to grab Mrs. Lin's dress. Lin's mother was startled, taking 2 steps back and shoving me away fiercely. What are you doing? Are you crazy? I looked back at her innocently. I didn't want to either. But who told you, Aunt Lin, to rely on your looks to seduce me? Besides, not everyone is blind enough to be attracted to your son, who has no particular skills. Lin's mother was left speechless by my retort, clutching her skirt with her face turning pale and flushed alternately. The matter ended with the Lin family compensating me 50,000 yuan to settle it privately. I gladly accepted and tore up that note in front of them. I didn't dare to actually call the police. After all, I was indeed lying. When I left the office, Lin's mother was still pulling at Yu Qingqing, warning her about something, while Su Yenji pretended to intervene. Without glancing sideways, I returned to the classroom and moved my desk from beside Yu Qingqing's to the very back. By the time Yu Qingqing returned to the classroom, it was already after the second class. Her hair was disheveled, her cheeks swollen and red. She stood pitifully in front of my desk, hesitating to speak. Without even looking up, I coldly spat out a single word: get lost. Yu Qingqing didn't leave. With a soft plop, a tear fell onto my book. I'm sorry, she said, her voice choked with tears. I frowned impatiently. You're getting my book dirty, Yu Qingqing. Didn't you hear me? I told you to get lost. Do you think I still can't see through you now? You're just selfish. You only come to me when you get beaten or bullied. Am I your backup? Why didn't you think about this when you stabbed me in the back for a guy? Get lost and don't bother me again, or I'll make you pay back every penny I've ever spent on you in cash. Hearing this, Yu Qingqing trembled, finally put away her crocodile tears, and left unwillingly. I lowered my head and secretly glanced at my phone. After the last office birthday live stream incident, Su Yenji's social media accounts have seen a gradual decline in popularity. Many people in the comments section have questioned her, with some even asking if she's a teacher who dislikes women and favors men. Su Yenji did not respond at all. I narrowed my eyes and smiled. Just wait, the real show is yet to come. 6. From then on, Yu Qingqing and Lin Yuran grew closer and closer, and with Su Yenji's deliberate indulgence, Lin Yuran also rallied classmates to completely isolate me in class, and even spread some malicious, slanderous rumors about me. The best way to break a girl is to spread sexual slander and slut-shame her, but in this life, I will not fall into the trap of trying to prove my innocence. During PE class, when Lin Yuran once again gathered a few boys to leer at me and make inappropriate comments about my figure, I didn't hesitate to smash the volleyball right into his face. Lin Yuran cried out in pain, bending over while clutching his nose as drops of blood hit the ground. Yu Qingqing, who had been smugly standing beside him, also let out a frightened scream. Once again, Lin Yuran and I were summoned to the office. Different from last time, another girl followed us to the office. Her name was Song Juyin, the girl who had been isolated before me. The reason she was isolated was quite simple. That time, Su Yenji bought a big bag of snacks, distributing them to the boys first before bringing them to the girls. As a group of unaware girls crowded around to grab some, she, having witnessed everything, stood to the side with her arms crossed, rolled her eyes, and muttered, "What a fake." Su Yenji heard that fake comment, and from that day on, with a heart smaller than a needle's eye, she began deliberately making things difficult for Song Juyin, just as she had done with me. Eventually, Song Juyin couldn't take it anymore and slammed the table, starting a heated argument with Su Yenji. The consequence of arguing with the teacher was having her parents called in. Su Yenji put on a show and cried a river, while Song Juyin was slapped by her parents on the spot, given a major demerit, and isolated by all the classmates who liked Su Yenji. Today, having silently witnessed the entire incident from the sidelines, she followed me into the office to testify on my behalf. Teacher, it was Lin Yuran who provoked Zhou Yang first, saying some disgusting things. Zhou Yang couldn't take it anymore and threw the basketball at him. Song Juyin defended me. Lin Yuran covered his nose and argued, I didn't do anything, teacher, I was just playing volleyball. Zhou Yang suddenly threw a volleyball at me for no reason. The other students saw it. Yu Qingqing was right next to me, If you don't believe me, ask her. Song Juin's face flushed red with anger as she glared at Lin Yuran. What nonsense are you spouting, twisting the truth? It was clearly you who started talking about others. First, Lin Yuran stiffened his neck and smirked. I didn't do anything. If you say that, then show some proof. Without evidence, aren't you two just teaming up to lie to the teacher? Song Juin, you've already got one major demerit on your record. One more and you'll be expelled. Expelled, then expelled. I'm not afraid of you. It was you who started it in the first place. Enough, Su Yenji interrupted Song Juin sharply. You two never learn, do you? Always thinking of ways to mess with Lin Yuran. Is that it? Jealous because he's good looking, trying to get his attention with these stunts. Can't you have a little more self-respect? Song Juin rolled her eyes. Teacher, we're not that desperate. We wouldn't stoop so low. I, who had remained silent until now, laughed and slowly spoke up. Teacher Su, you say the top student and the second-ranked student in our grade aren't learning properly. Then in your mind, teacher, who in this class is actually learning well? Su Yenji glared at me, enunciating each word clearly. I never judge whether a student is good or bad based on their grades, only by gender. Then, I continued to retort, so Teacher Su means you think it's my problem, that no matter what, I shouldn't have hit Lin Yuran with the volleyball. Su Yenji waved her hand dismissively, her face full of impatience. What else could it be? You were the one who resorted to violence, so you are in the wrong. What's more, she paused, looking me up and down in my athletic tank top and shorts, the disdain in her tone overflowing. If you don't respect yourself, dressing like that, it's no wonder people talk about you. You brought it on yourself. All right, I understand, I said calmly. Song Juin and I will accept the punishment decided by the school and the teachers. With that, I took Song Juin's hand and walked out of the office. In the hallway, Song Juin, having shed her earlier righteous indignation, excitedly tugged at me and asked, how was it, Zhou Yang? How was my performance just now? It was great, I replied perfunctorily, continuing to walk forward without looking at her. You recorded all of that just now, right? I recorded it secretly, absolutely foolproof, Song Juin guaranteed. I stopped walking and looked at Song Juin very seriously. Thank you. Song Juin's face flushed slightly, and she uncomfortably averted her gaze. It's nothing. I just can't stand Su Yenji's fake behavior. 7. Song Juin and I were publicly reprimanded. I received a major demerit, and she received a minor one, and the day after the public reprimand, I immediately posted the 2 videos Song Juin had secretly recorded online. One was Lin Yuran leading the way in isolating and insulting me, while the other was Su Yenji's outrageous remarks made in the office. I spent a month's allowance to buy traffic for this video, and of course, it didn't disappoint, quickly going viral. The public opinion fermented extremely quickly, with Su Yenji's live-streaming social media account being the first to fall. The comments below were no longer, I'm so envious they have such a teacher, or, Teacher Su is truly a savior of Chinese-style education. Instead, most were sarcastic and mocking remarks aimed at her. Why are all the videos with boys? Are there no girls in the class? Never mind, I'll speak bluntly, I'm leaving now, because if I stay, I'll end up criticizing you, and you won't like hearing it. What a perfect example of victim blaming, a savior of Chinese-style education. More like a savior for precious boys, so disgusting, it makes me want to vomit. INEVERGUDGEASTUDENTSWORTHBASEDONGRADES. Is it just based on gender? Teacher Su, haven't you all noticed that most of the videos she posts are with that Lin Yuran who bullied the female classmate? Teacher Su, instead of calling your account Teacher Su Who Loves the Students, you might as well rename it Teacher Su Who Loves Yuran, Eating Melons and Finding Out It's About my own school. Let me secretly share an inside scoop. This Lin Yuran previously harassed a female classmate, but his family is rich, so it was settled privately later. Reading the comments from netizens, I imagined Su Yenji's face turning green with anger on the other side of the screen and couldn't help but burst into laughter. The power of public opinion is indeed strong. The school quickly revoked the disciplinary notices against me and Song Juin, then gave Lin Yuran a major demerit and called in his parents. This time, when Lin's mother came to the school, she directly slapped Su Yenji. How do you teach? Yuran has made 2 mistakes in just a few days in your class. If you can't teach, get out of here as soon as possible. Su Yenji, with tears in her eyes, was furious but didn't dare to speak up, only looking at Lin Yuran with a pitiful expression. Naturally, Lin Yuran didn't even dare to utter a single word. Not long after, Su Yenji was suspended by the school as she walked out of the school gate wearing sunglasses. I stood to the side with my arms crossed, watching her calmly and leisurely. She spotted me, rushed over, and asked through gritted teeth, "Zhou Yang, did you post that video? Why would you do this to your teacher? Haven't I been good enough to you?" I smiled lightly and indifferently. "Good to me? What about the previous life? In the previous life, wasn't I good enough to you, Su Yenji? Why did you have to use me then?" "Teacher Su, everyone must take responsibility for what they say and do," I said calmly, then turned and walked away. 8. Su Yenji's life was quickly exposed online, leaving no stone unturned. Of course, I contributed significantly to this. I created countless anonymous accounts and posted revelations in the comments section about Su Yenji dating Lin Yuran, just as the situation was escalating and gradually unfolding according to my plan. Someone claiming to be Su Yenji's fiancé stepped forward. "Hello everyone, I am Yenji's fiancé. I've seen the recent online discussions, but Yenji is definitely not that kind of person. She treats her students like her own children and would never date a student. Recently, Yenji has been crying at home every day because of this, suffering from depression and refusing to eat." The video he posted was sincere and heartfelt, and paired with Su Yenji's haggard appearance, it was truly moving. I carefully observed the interaction between the two in the video, and it indeed seemed like a genuine couple. Another poor soul. I thought about it and still sent a private message to this man named How. "Your fiancé has already cheated on you, and you still trust her so much. I have evidence here." Not long after Su Yenji's clarification came out, another major incident happened at the school. Lin Yuran and Yu Qingqing were really dating. They were caught red-handed by the head teacher while kissing in the small grove by the teaching building. Lin's mother came to the school for the third time and smashed a stool right on Yu Qingqing's head. Yu Qingqing's head was bleeding profusely, and she fell unconscious on the spot. By the time she was sent to the hospital, it was a step too late. She had become a vegetable. Her money-grubbing parents, of course, wouldn't seek justice for her. They happily took the 800,000 yuan compensation from the Lin family and abandoned their own daughter at the hospital. When Song Zhuyin told me about this, she couldn't help but sigh. "It's quite pitiful," she said. I smiled and said nothing. "Pitiful, Yu Qingqing got exactly what she asked for. I just never expected that Lin Yuran and Su Yenji, in order to cover up their own sordid affair, would push Yu Qingqing out as a scapegoat so early." After this incident, Su Yenji seized the opportunity to play the victim once again. Just as the online discussion about her was beginning to die down, Ahao finally replied to my message. "What evidence?" 9. The black characters on the screen blurred into halos of light, letting my thoughts drift far away. In my previous life, it was only after I became a ghost that I fully learned about the disgraceful affair between Lin Yuran and Su Yenji. Because this relationship was far from open and aboveboard, they never met during the day or in public places, only in abandoned amusement parks, remote groves, or on rooftops. Moreover, fearing discovery, they deleted their chat logs daily. Yet, wanting to preserve these records as sweet memories, they chose to back them up in a cloud drive. Those unsightly chat logs were all stored by Su Yenji in her cloud drive. Returning to my thoughts, I replied to Ahao, "Take a look in your fiancé's cloud drive, and you'll understand everything." Ahao didn't reply to me again. I waited patiently until 3 days later, when he contacted me again. Without saying a word, he asked to add my contact information. I didn't refuse and gave him a newly registered WeChat ID. After adding contact information, he called me directly. His tone was weary, tinged with a gritted teeth. "Hatred, Su Yenji really did cheat on me, and the other man is that Lin Yuran from her class." As Hao spoke, his voice gradually took on a choked, tearful quality. He told me how utterly indecent the photos in the chat records between Su Yenji and Lin Yuran were. About those years he worked desperately to earn money to support Su Yenji's studies. About how Su Yenji had been so cold to him lately yet suddenly became passionately insistent on marrying him, and about his fury and resentment at being betrayed. "I wish I could kill her," Hao sobbed, then paused as if wiping away tears. "But how could I bear to? I couldn't bear for her to suffer any hardship. So why is she treating me like this?" I listened patiently to the end, though my mind was screaming, "Die, you lovesick fool." My tone remained gentle and persuasive. "Since she's treated you this way, it's not too much for you to get back at her. Package up those chat records and send them to me. Let me know when you see Su Yenji going out someday, and I'll help you catch them in the act. Hao agreed readily, but just as he was hanging up, he seemed to remember something and suddenly asked me, "Who are you? Why are you helping me? You don't have some other motive, do you?" I choked up, gritted my teeth, and replied, "I'm Lin Yuran's ex-girlfriend, and I'm also furious that he cheated on me and lied." Hao believed it easily and hung up the phone. Looking at the records he sent me on WeChat, I rubbed my forehead, a naive sweetheart. No wonder Su Yenji had him wrapped around her finger. 10. On Friday night, just after evening self-study ended, Lin Yuran sneaked out of the classroom at the same time. Hao also sent me a WeChat message. Su Yenji said she had plans with friends and told me not to follow, so she went out alone. I clutched my backpack and stealthily followed behind Lin Yuran. Lin Yuran walked out of the school gate, turned left and right, and entered a nearly abandoned shopping mall. I sneaked in after him. Su Yenji had been waiting inside for who knows how long. Seeing Lin Yuran arrive, she immediately threw herself into his arms. I quickly took out my phone and started recording a video. The two of them embraced, kissing passionately and unwilling to part for a good while before finally separating. Su Yenji hugged Lin Yuran, pouting and cooing pitifully. "It's all your fault for provoking that Zhou Yang. Now all the online gossip is scaring me to death. I didn't even dare to meet you. And I had to dig up my idiot ex-boyfriend, trick him into thinking I'd marry him, just to get him to post a clarification for me. I've missed you so much this whole time, Yuran." Lin Yuran stroked her face. "I've missed you too, but it's fine now. Everyone thinks I'm dating that Yu Qingqing, so it has nothing to do with you anymore." The two of them talked for a while, then pressed close together and started kissing again. Unable to watch any longer, I slipped out of the abandoned mall without a sound. I also sent an anonymous message and location to Lin's mother. That night, I compiled the videos, photos, and chat records into a PPT and a PDF document, which I sent to Hao. "Whether to expose it or not is up to you." Hao didn't reply to me. I thought he might have a change of heart, but the next day, that PDF and PPT went viral all over the internet. Su Yenji's reputation was completely ruined. Countless people were cursing her, and she didn't even dare to leave her house. Lin's mother personally joined the fray, going to Su Yenji's comments section to call her a filthy bitch, and even threatened, "So it was you, this shameless thing, who's been seducing my son all along. You just wait, trying to fool me while seducing my son. I'll make sure you're finished." I watched this farce with cold eyes, feeling nothing but immense satisfaction. 11. I don't know what happened that night at the abandoned shopping mall, but Su Yenji was definitely not someone to be trifled with. When school started the second week, Su Yenji swaggered straight into the classroom. Her face was bruised and swollen, yet in front of everyone, she cupped Lin Yuran's face, planted a kiss on it, and then swaggered right back out. Everyone was stunned. I lowered my gaze and smiled. Su Yenji had truly decided to throw caution to the wind, and just as Su Yenji was leaving the school, Lin's mother arrived in a furious rage. Lin's mother stopped Su Yenji, and the two of them started brawling right there. In public, it was break time, and the crowd of onlookers kept growing. The school entrance was completely blocked. I went over to see what the commotion was about. Two people were pulling hair and pinching flesh, fighting fiercely. Lin Yuran pushed through the crowd and desperately tried to break them up, but couldn't separate them. A small dagger fell out of my pocket. I tried to pick it up, but it was kicked farther and farther away. "Forget it," I thought to myself, turning and walking away. Just as I was about to reach the teaching building, I heard someone scream in terror, "Murder, murder!" Su Yenji and Mother Lin fought with such ferocity that their eyes turned red. Spotting a dagger not far away, Mother Lin grabbed it and stabbed it towards Su Yenji. Lin Yuran tried to block it, but the knife plunged straight into his chest. Blood spilled all over the floor, and Lin Yuran died on the spot, splattered with blood all over her face. Su Yenji went insane on the spot. She snatched the knife and stabbed it toward Mother Lin. When the police arrived, Mother Lin had already been stabbed over a dozen times. Su Yenji was still muttering neurotically, "It's all your fault for not letting me be with Yuran." Mother Lin was tough and didn't die, but she was paralyzed in bed for the rest of her life. Father Lin, having lost his son and nearly his wife, was so enraged that he suffered a heart attack and stroke. As for Su Yenji, she was sentenced to life imprisonment and will spend the rest of her days in prison. When Song Zhuyin gossiped about these events with me, she couldn't help but feel a bit of schadenfreude. "Zhou Yang, don't you think they brought this upon themselves with their misdeeds? I think they totally deserved it." I looked at the bright red apple in my hand. The knife is lost, so I can't peel it anymore. What a pity. With a crisp crunch, I took a bite of the apple. This is what they call, the wicked are punished by the wicked, comma, the end. Story 2. My mom's always cutting corners, especially at my expense. After she cost me 3 jobs in a row, I fled to work as a zookeeper. Never thought she'd track me down here. While I was busy, she took my brother to vault the enclosure and wrestle a peacock, leaving a rare white peacock severely injured. After the zoo held me accountable, she hijacked my account to post entitled Momzilla, rants that got me cyberbullied. Kids will be kids. My child wrestling that peacock shows courage. What would you know about parenting? When I begged her to settle with compensation, she shoved me off the building and spun it as my desperate suicide attempt to extort the zoo. She later used the settlement money to buy my brother cars and property. While I woke up back at the zoo like some twisted deja vu, this time, I directly requested a transfer to the tiger enclosure. Only when I saw that rare white peacock strolling leisurely in the garden again did I finally confirm my rebirth. My last memory was of my mother immediately using the zoo's compensation money to buy my younger brother a mansion right after my death. Whenever people mentioned me, she'd just dismissively wave her hand. What a waste of a daughter I've raised, killing herself over trivial matters without a thought for her own mother, even as a spirit. Those words chilled me to the bone. She made me do all the household chores growing up, while every penny I earned went straight to the family. In the end, she murdered me with her own hands, all for my brother's sake. The phantom pain of falling 13 stories still lingers, my forehead beating with cold sweat until the vibration in my pocket jolts me awake. It's a text from my mother. 1. Claire, why didn't you tell me you got a new job? I brought your brother to the zoo. 30 yuan per ticket is outrageous. Come tell the security guard to let us in for free. My fingers tightened around the phone as I read the exact same text message from my past life. In my previous life, my mother had sent me this identical message too. After she'd cost me 3 jobs before, I swore I wouldn't let her in this time. Yet she still managed to buy a ticket and show up. The moment she stepped in, she started complaining at me. $30 just to see a few animals. What a ripoff. Her eyes darted around before locking onto the white peacock strolling in the garden. Claire, there's hardly anyone here now. Just sneak your little brother in through the side gate. Otherwise this ticket price is such a waste. My mom's always been a penny pincher. I've known that since childhood. Little did I know that after graduation, she'd start exploiting my career for her own gain. My first job was as a hospital nurse. Exhausting work, but at least we were angels saving lives. Unaware of the mischief my mother would stir up, I happily agreed when she asked to visit me at the hospital. In the blink of an eye, she'd already sneaked photos of a patient's medical records. 3 days later, someone reported that doctors in our hospital were secretly promoting health supplements to patients with hypertension, hyperlipidemia, and hyperglycemia. I went to check out the commotion, only to find my face plastered on the product packaging. Cornered by the dean's interrogation, I couldn't defend myself no matter what I said. Just then, my mom showed up triumphantly and dumped an armful of supplements into my hands. Claire, I got you appointed as this supplement company's health consultant. You get 20% commission per sale. Now, we've got both eyewitness testimony and physical evidence. Before I could defend myself, the dean publicly reprimanded me, shattering my nursing dreams. My second job was as an English teacher. One day after work, I came home to find over 20 students gathered around a small table waiting for me. My mom yelled at me while cooking, Claire, these students have all paid for tutoring. Since you're free after work anyway, why not give them some extra lessons and earn some side income? I was so anxious I nearly burst into tears. Mom, don't you know teachers aren't allowed to tutor privately now, let alone charge for it? If I get caught, I'll face disciplinary action. Before I could finish speaking, school officials showed up at my door with a complaint letter. In the end, I was not only fired but also had my teaching license revoked. After that, I took a job as a sales associate, only to discover my mother was stealing product samples to resell. Needless to say, I lost that job too. After losing 3 jobs in a row, I finally snapped and took a zookeeper position overnight. Moving here immediately. Never thought my mother would track me down anyway. Last lifetime, her freeloading ways actually cost me my life in the end. Remembering that gruesome death from my past life, I silently clenched my fists and made a silent vow. I'm getting away from my mom this time no matter what. Ignoring my vibrating phone, I quickly messaged the zoo director requesting a transfer to the tiger enclosure. The transfer wouldn't be approved that quickly. Just as I was about to make up an excuse to take leave, My colleague Hilda shot me a nasty look. Some people think they can slack off just because they're young and pretty, even shameless enough to seduce the elderly director. Disgusting behavior. Hilda works at the aviary next door and has been with the zoo forever. She's headed out for me since day one, especially after the director praised my cleaning while calling her out for slacking off. Hilda immediately started spreading rumors about me sleeping with the boss. She's always bad-mouthing me behind my back. I tried to walk away, but she actually grabbed my arm to stop me. Claire, where do you think you're going? Don't think seducing the director gives you license to slack off. I'm a veteran here. One word from me and you're reported. I shot her an icy glare. Let go, keep slandering me and I'm calling the police. Hilda froze for a second before becoming even more aggressive. Go ahead, call them. You're threatening to call the police over a few words. Must be feeling guilty. You young girls these days have no boundaries. With time running out and Hilda being such a persistent troublemaker, I yanked my hand free from her grasp. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar voice made me freeze in my tracks. Claire, I knew I'd find you here. I turned around slowly to see my mother walking toward me, holding my little brother's hand. She wiped her sweat while grumbling. You didn't answer your phone. We had to pay $60 extra for tickets. You're covering this expense. Here we go again, the exact same words as in my past life. I struggled to control my breathing, trying not to show any unusual reactions. It's not like I asked you to come find me. Besides, even if I worked here, I wouldn't have the authority to bring people in for free. If there's nothing else, I'll be going now. My mother seemed stunned by my uncharacteristic coldness toward her, hesitating for a moment before following me. Claire, how could you speak to your mother like that? With a hurt expression, she lowered her head and launched into that familiar refrain. Your father died young. I raised you and your brother single-handedly. All I'm trying to do is save some money. Is that so wrong? Every penny I put aside will go to you too eventually. She's repeated those words countless times since I was little. My father died in a car accident when I was young, leaving my mother to raise my brother and me alone. Knowing how hard she worked, I never asked for pocket money or toys growing up. Starting college, I juggled studies with part-time jobs, sending every penny home, yet all my sacrifices only led to a brutal death. I only learned after my death that the compensation from my father's passing, combined with our hometown's demolition payout, amounted to a fortune, yet my mother never spent a single cent of it on me, while I endured bullying at school for wearing hand-me-downs. My elementary-aged brother was already sporting Air Jordans and the latest Apple gadgets. When I suffered harassment from customers for minimum-wage holiday jobs, my mother secretly bought my brother a luxury RV worth millions. Had I not died once before, I'd never have realized how deeply my supposedly egalitarian mother favored my brother. Now when I look at her, nothing remains in my eyes but icy detachment. Then transfer back the wages I'd previously entrusted to you. Mother choked on her words, rendered speechless. Just then, my little brother started wailing. To play with the peacock, Mom was busy soothing him while shooting me a helpless look. Come on, Claire. We came all this way to see you. Open the door so your brother can play with the peacock, and let me snap some photos. Without another word, I immediately herded the white peacock back into the inner enclosure and locked the door. My brother instantly let out a piercing shriek. I want the peacock. Let me play with the big peacock. My mom was completely stunned. Claire, your little brother rarely visits. What's gotten into you? I said flatly. Sorry, the peacock isn't feeling well. You should leave. Suddenly, Hilda, who'd been watching the commotion, walked over with a beaming smile. Auntie, if you don't mind, come see the flamingos from my side. I can open the service gate for you. My mother jumped at the offer, grasping her hand while showering her with thanks. Hilda looked absolutely smug about it, even throwing me a deliberate side-eye. Some people are so cold even to their own family. No wonder they've got no shame. Watching her enthusiastically open the little gate, I nearly burst out laughing. Hilda probably doesn't realize my brother isn't actually a child too. He's already 17. My brother Bram has dwarfism. His physical growth permanently stalled at age 8, leaving him with a childlike appearance, beyond his short stature. He also has intellectual disabilities and a volatile, impulsive temperament. Growing up, my mother spent a fortune cleaning up the messes he caused with his reckless behavior. In my past life, this very person harmed the white peacock I'd painstakingly raised. In this life, Bram visited Hilda's flamingo sanctuary. Little did he know, flamingos aren't exactly pushovers when it comes to fighting. After making sure the door was locked, I headed straight to the director's office to request access to the tiger enclosure. Unsurprisingly, the director approved. After all, Nora the tigress in the enclosure just gave birth recently and has been extremely territorial, having already bitten 3 keepers in a row. The zoo director was desperate to find someone to handle this mess, so he jumped at the chance when this sucker, me, volunteered. I always knew you youngsters could tough it out, the director chuckled while reaching for my hand. I fought back nausea while counting the seconds. Just as I was about to lose it, a panicked shout came from outside. Principal, something terrible has happened. I bolted out the door, just as I thought. Something went wrong at the flamingo exhibit. When we arrived, Hilda was in the middle of an argument with my mom. This is all your fault for not keeping an eye on your son. Now our flamingos are injured. You're paying for this. My mom actually had the upper hand in the confrontation. What kind of savage beasts do you keep in this zoo? My boy just wanted to pet the animals, and these damn creatures pecked him. Look what they did to him. Your zoo must compensate us. I glanced at Bram. His face twisted in malice as he glared at Hilda, his clothes riddled with puncture marks and faint bloodstains seeping through. Director, thank God you're here. Hilda recounted the incident with tears streaming down her face, just like in the previous life. Bram seized the moment while my mom was chatting with Hilda to pounce on a flamingo, viciously tearing at its feathers and wings. But flamingos are social creatures. The moment he struck, hundreds of other flamingos turned on him in retaliation. In the end, only 2 flamingos sustained minor injuries, while Bram ended up covered in peck wounds from head to toe. My mother's wailing drew quite a crowd of tourists. To prevent the situation from escalating, the zoo director had to pacify my mother first, then redirected all his fury toward Hilda, who gave you permission to open the gate for visitors. You're solely responsible for this accident. Consider your entire month's salary forfeited. Hilda widened her eyes indignantly. Just in time to spot me hiding behind the director, she immediately pointed at me and shouted, Principal, this has nothing to do with me. These 2 are Claire's mother and brother. She asked me to let them in. The principal's sharp gaze instantly fixed on me. Claire, is this true? I pinched my thigh hard and immediately squeezed out a few crocodile tears. Principal, these 2 are indeed my family members, but I always follow the rules and never let anyone into the restricted area. I made this clear to Hilda too. She brought them in without authorization. That's a lie. You specifically asked me to give your family a close-up tour of the animals. At that moment, I suddenly glanced at my silent mother standing nearby. Mom, what do you think? She was anxiously examining my brother's wound. Hearing this, my mother's eyes darted around before she rushed over to grab my hand. Claire, we were wrong. Plain and simple. We can't go blaming others. Wasn't it you who asked this lady to let us in? At that moment, I was completely disillusioned with her. Without another word, I pulled up the recording on my phone. Thankfully, I'd been recording non-stop since the moment I saw my mom. The recording clearly shows Hilda was the one who led my mom and brother into the compound. The zoo director flew into a rage and fired Hilda on the spot, with my mom making a scene. The whole incident was hastily settled with the zoo compensating her 200,000 yuan. When the money came through, my mom was so thrilled she could barely blink. Claire, they actually paid 200 grand. Your brother's injury wasn't even that serious. Is this zoo made of money? I noticed the greed in her eyes and smiled. This amount is just a drop in the bucket for the director. Of course he can afford the compensation. My mother stayed silent, clearly scheming something. After getting home, I secretly installed the surveillance camera I'd bought on the way in the living room. The next day, I went to work as usual and saw my mom feeding my little brother through the security camera, covered in bruises and in a foul mood. Bram smashed his bowl on the spot. I won't eat. I want to play poker. My mother's face was etched with worry. Sweetheart, how can you stay healthy without eating? You've already blown all our family's savings on online games. We've only got 200k left now. Let's stop this gambling. Bram had always been slow-witted and spoiled rotten by my mother since childhood. He immediately threw the dishes on the floor and threw a tantrum. I don't care. Give me that 200k. You promised we'd get 500k if we married Claire off. Just wed her to that blind bastard Daryl. Well, my mother hesitated, then nodded. Haven't I been sabotaging her job every single time? I just didn't expect the girl to be so stubborn. But don't worry, I'll make the money. Left with no choice, my mother transferred the freshly acquired 200,000 yuan to Bram. I watched this scene unfold on the surveillance feed, a cold smirk playing on my lips. So all those times Mom ruined my job opportunities, it was never about petty gains. She just wanted to force me home for marriage. She wanted to marry me off to that blind Daryl from our hometown. Rumor has it his family offered $500,000 in bride price. Suddenly I remembered the cold determination in my mother's eyes when she pushed me off the building in my past life. By then Bram must have already lost a fortune gambling online. Even selling me off wouldn't have covered his debts. That's why she chose to end my life without hesitation. The compensation for a human life far exceeds 500,000. Seeing the truth, I resolved to show no more mercy. After that day, my mother started contacting me frequently, checking on me with constant concern. I kept giving her half-hearted responses, until one day she spoke up again. "Claire, the weather's nice tomorrow. My brother and I will come visit you at the zoo." She paused, then added awkwardly, "Don't worry, we'll cover the tickets this time. No need for reimbursement." Glancing at the tiger lazily sunbathing on the hillside, I casually agreed. I could tell my mom was reaching her breaking point. The 200K she transferred to Bram last week had already been gambled away, and now he's demanding more money. But where would she even get it? I had someone discreetly check my mom's assets. Ever since Bram got hooked on online gambling, all the properties and cars my mom secretly bought for him were liquidated just to cover his losses. When will this mess ever end? The next morning, my mom indeed came to see me with Bram. "Claire, I brought you some fruit." I gave it a quick glance. "Bringing me rotten fruit from home? Might as well treat me like a trash can." I shooed them both out. "Stop bothering me, I'm swamped with work. The animals in this garden are priceless. If anything happens to them, I couldn't possibly afford the compensation." The moment compensation was mentioned, my mother's face lit up with a grin from ear to ear. She struggled to contain herself, then suddenly clutched her stomach with a dramatic gasp. "Ouch, Claire, Mommy's stomach hurts so bad. I don't know where your bathroom is. Could you take me there?" I frowned with visible irritation. "Just turn left down this hallway. It's at the very end." My mom gripped my arm tightly and softened her tone. "Just come with me this once. Let your brother keep watch here. Nothing bad will happen." I glanced at Bram looking around restlessly and couldn't help but chuckle. Leaving him alone here, now that would be a real disaster. But all this was exactly as I'd anticipated. I pretended to hesitate until she begged me several times before finally agreeing. Before leaving, I gave Bram another warning. "These fences are live. I just flipped the switch. If you go wandering and get electrocuted, that's on you." Bram remained silent, staring ominously at the distant hillside with unreadable thoughts. My mom walked unusually slow the whole way, as if deliberately stalling for time. I knew what she was up to, so I played along without hurrying her. The moment Mom entered the restroom, I immediately pulled out my backup phone and opened my live stream. That's right, I was live streaming. I've always had the habit of documenting my daily life, and I've gathered a small following online. Ever since being transferred to the Siberian tiger habitat, I've been streaming daily. Right now there are 10,000 viewers in my live room. 3. My sudden disappearance left my live audience just chatting among themselves, until someone noticed something was off. "Holy shit, what's that brat doing? He's actually trying to climb over the electric fence." I knew something was off when I saw him flip that switch earlier, but this is insane. The kid's got a death wish. "Look, that little bastard's poking Nora with a stick." I was glued to the screen, terrified of missing even the slightest detail. You've got to admit, Bram's got nerves of steel. Any sane person would have bolted the moment they saw that sleeping Siberian tiger, even if they'd dared to climb the electric fence. But Bram's clearly not playing with a full deck. Instead of running, the lunatic actually picked up a stick to poke the tiger's rear. After crippling that white peacock in his past life, it's high time he learned what a real predator looks like. Nora, who had been sound asleep, suddenly caught a whiff of something unusual. She sprang up instantly, her meter-long tail sending Bram flying across the ground. Roar! A bone-chilling tiger's roar echoed from nearby. My mom happened to be coming out of the bathroom. Hearing the noise, she turned to me with curiosity. "Claire, what's that sound? It's giving me the creeps." I put away my phone and flashed her a smile. "That's a tiger, my newly adopted Siberian tiger. Fierce little thing." My mom's brain short-circuited for a moment. She stared at me rigidly, her face turning pale in an instant. "What Siberian tiger? Weren't there peacocks in your zoo enclosure?" "Mom, I got transferred to the tiger exhibit." My mother's pupils suddenly dilated as she trembled and murmured, "Bram, oh no, my baby." She turned and sprinted back, not even noticing when her shoes flew off. I followed at a leisurely pace while keeping an eye on the live stream. "Call the staff immediately. This could be life or death. That brat climbed in by himself. Who's to blame? Serves him right if something happens. Nora just had her cub. She's at her most vulnerable right now. With intruders barging in, this could turn deadly. When I arrived at the scene, Bram had already scrambled up a nearby tree. Miraculously, he escaped with nothing worse than torn pant legs. My frantic mother, desperate to save me, had already recklessly climbed over the electric fence and was shouting urgently at Bram, "Sweetheart, stay still, Mommy's coming to save you." Bram clung to the tree trunk for dear life, his face ashen with fear, yet still found the breath to yell at my mother, "This damn beast is trying to bite me, Mom, hurry up and save me." The moment he finished speaking, his body slipped down an inch. Panicked, Bram scrambled up the tree with all four limbs, though his poor athleticism meant he wouldn't last long. Nora circled the massive tree relentlessly, her predatory gaze locked on Bram perched above. While Nora could easily leap to that height, the newly postpartum tigress remained cautious, scanning for potential threats, but my mother couldn't care less. All she knew was that her precious son was dying. So she recklessly climbed over the electric fence and charged straight at Nora, screaming at the top of her lungs, "You damn beast! Come at me if you dare. Don't you lay a finger on my boy," probably trying to psych herself up. My mom started flailing her arms wildly, but to a tiger, those movements read as clear provocation. Sure enough, Nora bared her fangs with a thunderous roar and charged straight at my mother. Paralyzed with terror, my mom froze on the spot. Before she could react, the 300-pound Siberian tiger had already pounced on her by the protective ditch, sinking its teeth into her left shoulder while violently clawing at her legs. Blood instantly soaked through my mother's clothes. The excruciating pain and terror turned her face ghostly pale as she let out agonizing screams. The live stream chat went absolutely wild. "Oh my God, that's the mother of that bratty kid, isn't it? A mother's love truly knows no bounds. That mother would be lucky to survive with anything less than critical injuries. What a horrific tragedy. Where are the zookeepers? Get that tiger away now." Before someone gets killed, I watched the scene unfold with an expressionless face, staying just outside the camera frame. They were absolutely right. A mother's love truly knows no bounds, yet my mother reserved all her maternal love for her precious son, treating me worse than a stranger. I was curious to see how Bram would respond to such motherly affection. As Nora viciously mauled my mother, Bram, still perched in the tree, gathered his courage and began inching his way down. Once the danger seemed past, hearing my mother's agonized screams, he barely glanced her way before turning tail and running without a second thought. Nora was hyper-alert, instantly whipping her head around at the slightest sound. "Claire, save your brother, now," half her body mauled beyond recognition, yet my mother still found the strength to scream for me to help. Her defiance ignited Nora's fury. The panther's amber eyes slid into vertical lines as she pinned my mother down, the sickening crack of vertebrae echoing in my ears. "It's time." I pulled out the prep tranquilizer dart and fired it at Nora with surgical precision. The needle pierced her skin as Nora rolled away in distress. Within moments, the sedative took effect and Nora collapsed unconscious. Just then, the rescue team arrived in time. I opened the door and joined them in saving my mom. My mother was covered in wounds and barely breathing. Even so, when I approached, she gripped my hand tightly and said to me, Claire, you must protect your little brother at all costs." My heart remains utterly undisturbed. My mother's doting on my younger brother is something I could never hope to match in this lifetime. Just then, my brother's angry shouts suddenly rang out from nearby. Seeing the tiger subdued, he actually came running back and was now viciously kicking the beast. "Damn beast, still trying to bite me, worthless piece of trash." I wanted to warn them, but it was too late. Nora suddenly woke up and slashed at Bram with her claws, severing half his hand in an instant. I quickly administered another dose of anesthetic, but it was too late. Bram writhed on the ground, clutching his severed hand and howling in agony. My mother took one look at the scene, rolled her eyes back, and passed out cold. The video of the zoo tiger attack went viral. Unlike the torrent of criticism in her past life, my mother actually received many sympathetic looks this time. After all, everyone saw that my troublemaker brother was the one at fault. Mom just failed to discipline him properly. Hardly a crime worthy of death. After a night of emergency treatment, my mother was transferred to the ICU. The first thing she did upon waking, tubes covering her entire body, was to ask for me. "How's my sweetheart doing?" I gave her a smile from the hospital bedside. "Bram's still alive and kicking, just missing an arm, no big deal." I watched her face turn deathly pale in an instant. My mother trembled uncontrollably, tears of anguish welling up in her eyes. She struggled to speak. "Claire, you must demand compensation from the zoo, or your brother won't survive this." Compensation. My knife paused midair as I peeled the apple, its cold gleam reflecting my mother's frantic face. Mom, Bram trespassed by cutting the electric fence and climbing into the compound. Her chapped lips trembled as clouded eyes bore into me. What are you implying? I smiled faintly. You damaged the tiger enclosure. The zoo could sue you for endangering protected species. My mother's withered hand clutched at my collar. The foreneedle oozing blood as she pulled. Make them pay, demand compensation. Just say it was your work mistake, that you accidentally let your brother in. The smile slowly faded from my face. What if they sue me and I end up in jail? I'm not the least bit surprised my mother would say something like this. After all, in my past life when posting on social media, she always pinned all the blame on me too. My mother seemed faintly remorseful as she gripped my hand tightly. Claire, once we get the compensation money, our family will be set for life. After you serve your time, your brother and I will take care of you forever. What a load of empty promises. Too bad I'll never trust her words again, but I agreed anyway and arranged for media to interview my mom, letting her play the victim on camera to gain public sympathy. My mom's quite the actress, tears streaming down her face. She choked out her words in front of the reporters. My Claire has been irresponsible since childhood. I've struggled alone to raise both of them, yet in the end, she couldn't even take proper care of her own brother. That tiger was hers to begin with. How could she deliberately let her brother into its enclosure and allow the beast to maul him? My mother sobbed hysterically, making it sound like I'd plotted the whole thing. I stood by watching coldly from the sidelines. We'd agreed beforehand to say I'd left the door unlatched, letting Bram wander in by accident, but when the cameras rolled, my mother claimed I'd intentionally let him in. She'd stop at nothing to see me destroyed, but as she spoke, I noticed the reporter's expression shift noticeably. Ma'am, the surveillance footage clearly shows your son turning off the electric fence and climbing over the railing when no adults were present. How is this your daughter's fault? My mother's face instantly darkened. How dare you? It was Claire who left the gate unsecured and let my son in. My boy would never do such a thing. He's always been well behaved. Little did she know I'd been live streaming the entire incident yesterday. Everyone knew exactly how Bram got in. The reporters immediately understood and turned sarcastic. We all saw your son trespassing and poking the tiger with a stick. Why blame your daughter? No wonder he turned out like this. That remark hit my mother where it hurt. Bram was the apple of her eye. And heaven help anyone who dared criticize her precious boy. My mother completely lost it. What's wrong with my son? The fact that he dared poke a tiger shows how brave and spirited he is. Could your average child do that? Besides, aren't zoo animals meant for children's entertainment? Every child is their family's pride and joy. Now that my son lost an arm because of that zoo's tiger, they owe us $5 million in compensation. The reporters present were utterly dumbfounded by her outburst. In my past life, my mother used my account to post those remarks, getting me cyberbullied. This time, it's finally her turn to say those words herself. Seeing her hopeless state, the journalist turned the camera toward me, with swollen red eyes. I suddenly collapsed by the hospital bed. Mom, stop this nonsense. Bram's already 17. You can't keep treating him like a child just because he has dwarfism. I know you've always favored my brother since we were kids, never giving me a single cent of allowance while showering him with designer brands, even buying him cars and houses in advance. I never complained about any of that. But for God's sake, stop pinning his mistakes on me. I knelt on the floor, banging my head against it with hollow thuds. My mother turned pale and stared at me with trembling hands. When did you find out? Sensing there was more to the story, reporters immediately turned their cameras toward me for interviews. I poured out years of my mother's unfair treatment toward me in one emotional outburst. When the video went viral online, public opinion completely flipped. And here I was feeling sorry for this mother. Turns out she's just another sexist who favors sons over daughters, calling a 17-year-old a child. Please, that's just a grown-ass baby. Serves his mom right, and his brother too. Only that poor girl deserves sympathy, dragged down by her own family, and now she might even face legal consequences from the zoo. After everyone left, my mom finally realized I'd known all along about her little deception. She avoided eye contact, staring at me in disbelief. So you deliberately harmed your own brother. I cut her off with an expressionless face. Your own greed doomed you. I never told Bram to climb that electric fence. 5. My mother was gasping for breath, her face turning an ashen gray. She glared at me with the venomous stare reserved for mortal enemies. This is all your fault. Your brother lost his hand because of you. Claire, you wicked girl. I should have married you off to that blind Daryl when I had the chance. I stood up and flashed her a deliberate smile. Mom, you always dote on my brother, but when that tiger attacked you, why did he run without even looking back? He didn't even try to save you. My mother was speechless. After a long pause, she hastily came up with an excuse. That just shows how smart your brother is. He knew he couldn't fight the tiger, so he went to get help. I burst out laughing. Perhaps this is what unconditional maternal love truly means. Even when betrayed and abandoned by her own son, she still finds excuses for him. What a pity I've never known such motherly love. I stopped visiting my mother in the hospital and instead filed a lawsuit against the zoo. True to form, the zoo refused compensation and tried to pin the blame on me for the tourists' breach into the tiger enclosure. Only after the zoo director had talked himself hoarse did I leisurely pull out an internship contract from my bag. The director was instantly rendered speechless. The zoo had me sign an internship contract specifically to underpay me, but regulations clearly state that intern zookeepers aren't qualified to manage the entire facility alone. This constitutes negligence on the zoo's part. Combined with the massive public outcry, the court reached its final verdict unusually quickly. The zoo needs to pay a total compensation of 2 million yuan to my mother and younger brother. On the day the verdict came out, I let out a quiet sigh in front of my brother. 2 million might not even cover mom's future medical bills. Every extra day she lives means another day's worth of treatment costs. Bram stood nearby with a dark expression, lost in thought. After losing a hand, he became more irritable and impulsive. Midway, Bram suddenly said he needed to get off the car for an urgent matter. He didn't know I was following behind him. Bram rushed back to the hospital ward and snapped at my mother's concerned questions in frustration. They only gave me 2 million in compensation. I lost my hand. This measly 2 million isn't nearly enough. My mother collapsed onto the bed, weakly trying to comfort him. Don't worry, sweetheart. This 2 million is all yours. Mom won't let your sister take a single cent. But my mother didn't notice the way Bram's gaze toward her had changed. He stared at my mother's foredrip and suddenly burst into laughter. Mom, your medical bills are so expensive. Since you're going to die anyway, why not leave all the money to me? Before my mother could react, Bram rushed forward and yanked out her oxygen tube. The doctor said your spine is broken. You'll be bedridden for the rest of your life. Might as well die sooner. Bram stood by the bed grinning foolishly, his eyes brimming with greed. If you die, maybe I'll get even more money. From the doorway, I watched in horror as my mother's eyes bulged wide, her throat emitting choked gurgling sounds. Her eyes screamed with desperate longing for life, her trembling hand still feebly reaching for the emergency call button. My brother slapped my hand away without hesitation. If you really love me, then go die for me. Even with her dying breath, my mother's eyes remained fixed on my brother with an unblinking stare. She could never have imagined that the son she'd spoiled his entire life would ultimately be the one to kill her with his own hands. When I was certain it was all over, I burst through the hospital room door, sobbing uncontrollably. Mom, what's wrong with you? I called the police on my own brother. As the officers led him away, Bram still clung desperately to the fore tube, muttering defiant words. Mom's dead. All the money's mine now. The cops were looking at him differently now. Bram was eventually sentenced to life imprisonment for premeditated murder, and as the sole surviving relative, I received the full compensation. On the payout day, the director kept giving me this icy stare that lingered. Claire, take this money and I'll make sure you won't live to spend it. I pretended not to hear his threat and pocketed the cash without hesitation. I immediately turned around with the documents to report the zoo director for embezzling animal care funds and sexually harassing female staff. I owe it all to Hilda for helping me obtain the evidence. After the tiger attack incident came to light, Hilda reached out to me on her own initiative and apologized. I didn't understand the dynamics between you and your family back then. I'm truly sorry. She also confessed that her previous suspicions about me and the director stemmed from his persistent harassment of her. With her assistance, I successfully obtained evidence of the director's embezzlement and misconduct. On the day the zoo director was dismissed and taken away for investigation, my calm handling of the emergency situation got me elected as the new deputy director. I returned to the peacock garden once more. The white peacock that Bram had severely injured in its past life now stood bathed in sunlight, spreading its snow-white wings for the first time like an angel's radiance. Standing outside the enclosure, my employee badge gleamed brightly on my chest. Vice Principal, Claire, the breeze carried distant laughter of children. This time, I've truly been reborn. I just smiled. Story 2. My best friend is the female protagonist of a post-apocalyptic story. Before the apocalypse even started, she used her special advantage to hoard supplies excessively, to conceal her identity. She always used my address for the deliveries. When the apocalypse erupted, countless people stormed into my house, demanding that I hand over the supplies. I desperately tried to explain that I really didn't have any supplies, but I was still brutally murdered. My friend mingled among the crowd, triumphantly thinking, "It's good that I was cautious and didn't use my own address." When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the time before the apocalypse had begun. Outside the villa, my front door was smashed in with a hammer. Dozens of people broke in, they pinned me to the ground and repeatedly demanded, "Where are the supplies?" I kept arguing that I truly didn't know where the supplies were, pleading with them to let me go, but to no avail. Countless fists and stones were hurled at me. The leader threw a list at my face, cursing, "You're lying, you just bought a whole 1,000 tons of rice last month, and it clearly lists your address. Better confess where you've stored everything you bought." After saying this, he kicked me in the stomach. Blood spurted from my mouth. At that moment, I saw the paper with my name and phone number on it, unmistakably in my friend Mabel's handwriting. Before I could speak, I lost consciousness due to excessive blood loss. My soul floated in midair. I clearly saw Mabel among the crowd, smugly thinking, "Good thing I was careful not to use my own address." Only then did I realize that she had known about the apocalypse early on and had collected supplies using the system's space. Whenever she ordered supplies, she used my phone number and address to hide her own identity. I was targeted by a mob because of the information she provided. It was because of her that I suffered this undeserved disaster. Even if I misjudged her, I accepted it. But my family also suffered and died due to her actions. Overwhelmed by immense hatred, I woke up again before the apocalypse had started. I pinched my face hard to make sure I was indeed reborn. I checked the date on my phone. There was still half a month before the apocalypse. Everything was still within reach. Ding! A sound of unlocking. Mabel walked in boldly, pushing open the door to my bedroom. "Madeline, I have some good news for you." I suppressed the urge to kill her and asked with a frown, "What is it?" Mabel cleared her throat. Standing tall and proud, I've decided to transfer my company's shares. Rather than letting someone else benefit from them, I might as well sell them to you. After all, it's better to keep the benefits within our circle. Just give me 2 billion. Heh, seeing how the apocalypse is approaching, she wants to sell me the soon-to-be worthless company shares at a high price. What does she mean by not letting benefits go to outsiders? Clearly, she's trying to make a fool out of me. In my previous life, considering our years of friendship, I didn't think twice and immediately agreed to her request. I transferred all my money to her without a second thought. Soon after, the apocalypse arrived, and prices skyrocketed. Ordinary grains that were once common became astonishingly expensive. The high-priced shares I bought from Mabel became worthless. Suddenly, I couldn't produce any extra cash and had to sell everything in my house just to scrape together a few boxes of instant noodles, and even those noodles were eventually stolen. Mabel, pretending to care, was almost too eager as she pulled out a printed contract. "Take a look, and if there's no problem, let's sign it now." Well, the contract was all prepared. "You're always so fixated on my money," I almost laughed in frustration and responded, "Keep your shares, I don't want them." As soon as she realized she couldn't get cash from me, Mabel became anxious and quickly said, "Madeline, if you miss this opportunity, there won't be another. If someone else grabs it, you'll regret it." I couldn't help but laugh. With the apocalypse less than half a month away, once the time comes, all these company shares will almost turn into nothing. Who would bother fighting over them? I just smiled faintly. "Of course, I won't regret it." Mabel, cursing under her breath, stormed off. I watched her retreating figure coldly and picked up my phone. I called the property management to emphasize that Mabel should no longer be allowed in. Mabel and I grew up together, and over the years, she frequently visited my home. The security and property management teams in the villa complex knew her well, allowing her easy access to my home. In my previous life, she exploited this by sneaking a large batch of supplies into my basement. To avoid my notice, she specifically chose my work hours for the deliveries. Trucks marked with the supermarket logo boldly drove into my home, drawing quite a bit of attention. Mabel, acting as if nothing was amiss, loudly called for the property management to help her move boxes of supplies into the basement. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, a property manager asked in confusion, "Miss He, why did you buy so much stuff?" Mabel, with her innocent wide eyes, replied, "This is all stuff Madeline asked me to buy. I have no idea why she wants tons of rice in the house. Oh, and there are also 5,000 pounds of pork coming. I'll need your help with that too." Despite their confusion, the property management dutifully assisted with the deliveries. This went on for more than 10 days. Thanks to her enthusiastic promotion, even the security guards from the neighboring complex heard about my grand undertaking. All the while, I was kept in the dark, working overtime at the office, thinking about this. I couldn't hide the resentment in my eyes anymore. Mabel and I have known each other for many years, and I've been nothing but open-hearted with her. After her parents passed away, I let her treat my home as her second home. Even the company left by her parents only reached its current scale with 2 years of hard work and care from me, but I never expected to have raised a bunch of ingrates. After today, Mabel pestered me for 2 more days, trying to convince me to buy her shares. After repeatedly refusing her and seeing that time was running out, Mabel, unable to sit still any longer, gritted her teeth and sold her shares to a rival company at a low price. After signing the contract, seeing nearly half the expected amount missing from her account, Mabel's face was so dark it could drip ink. I just happened to walk past this scene. Seeing me, Mabel, as if finding a vent for her anger, glared at me furiously and snapped, "Madeline, are you happy now?" Ridiculous. I rolled my eyes and turned to enter another private room. Inside was an important client I had finally managed to arrange a meeting with. To show my sincerity, I had chosen the best 5-star hotel in the area, but coincidentally ran into Mabel. "Boss, I've already discussed the price with your assistant, but we still need to consult the other directors about the share transaction." Before I could respond, the door of the private room was suddenly pushed open, and Mabel burst in excitedly, "What, Madeline, you're selling company shares? Why would you suddenly sell them? It can't be to imitate me, right? You can't sell." Mabel's voice was loud, drawing quite a bit of attention. I frowned and said coldly, "This is my matter. It has nothing to do with you." But Mabel was not listening. "My company is more than 10 times the size of Mabel's, with the careful management over many years. Once the news that I wanted to sell shares was released, numerous buyers would clamor for the opportunity, and the price would only go up." Thinking of this made Mabel insanely jealous. Ignoring everyone else, she rushed up to me, grabbed the contract from the table, and attempted to tear it up. Before she could act, I slapped her hard across the face. Snap. "Mabel, open your eyes and look carefully. I am acquiring shares, not selling the company," I said. Mabel was stunned. Then she saw the acquisition contract in her hands. Realizing her mistake, Mabel's face stiffened. The next second, she felt a burning pain on her cheek. Before she could react, I pretended to hesitate. "After this acquisition, my company's account will probably run out of money." I was hesitant about buying it, but since you're objecting, upon hearing my words, Mabel's eyes lit up. "Buy, buy, of course, you should buy. You can always make the money back later. You go ahead, I won't disturb you anymore." After saying this, she quickly left the room, carefully arranging the contract as she went, anxious to avoid any mishaps with the transaction. Half an hour later, just as I was leaving the hotel, Mabel approached me, her tone urgent. "Did you sign it? Was there any problem?" I was in a good mood and didn't mind her attitude. "It's already signed." She sighed with relief, unable to hide the joy on her face. "Hee, Madeline, I haven't had the chance to congratulate you yet. Investing so much money, you must expect a good return." Mabel's gaze was full of schadenfreude. I knew it. She couldn't wait to see me lose everything, but she was going to be disappointed. The acquisition wasn't just any company. It was the largest and most comprehensive food processing factory in the city. This factory was involved in many businesses. Nearly every supermarket in the city sourced their goods from here. In essence, controlling this factory meant controlling nearly half of the city's supermarkets. With it, I could freely pursue the projects I wanted to engage in. After acquiring the factory, I started making the workers work overtime. Day and night, we aimed to produce as much material as possible in a limited time. After all, in a post-apocalyptic world, having resources could give people a glimmer of hope for survival. I had just finished tallying the existing materials in the warehouse when I received a report from my assistant. "Boss, several of the supermarkets we work with received large orders today. The buyer wants to have the goods shipped directly from our factory to their home. Please have a look." While talking, the assistant handed me the orders. On the first day I took over the factory, I had issued an order. Apart from a few large supermarkets we previously cooperated with, We would not accept any private orders. Normally, Assistant Hunter would have refused directly unless I looked down and, sure enough, the order was clearly signed with my name. I clenched my fists, my eyes fixed on the order. Unsurprisingly, Mabel had once again chosen to drag me down. Upon closer inspection of the order, I realized that, in addition to the goods being sent to my house during the day, Mabel had also ordered millions worth of staples for a remote suburban area. She even noted that the delivery should be made at midnight. Suddenly, I realized this must be Mabel's other warehouse. In my previous life, I only knew that the basement of my own house was Mabel's hoarding spot. To my surprise, she had a backup plan all along. I couldn't help feeling relieved that I had directly purchased the largest food processing plant in our city. This allowed me to quickly notice Mabel's actions. Just after giving a few instructions to my assistant, my phone rang like a death knell. As soon as I answered, Mabel's angry voice came through, questioning me furiously. "Madeline, what's wrong with your security? Why wouldn't they let me in? Just tell them to let me in now," I said indifferently, ignoring her reproach. "You had a reason to come to my house, Madeline. What kind of question is that? Aren't we the best of friends? Do I need a reason to come see you?" Mabel acted as if nothing had happened, cooing to me as usual. Her familiar tone momentarily took me back to the past, but then I remembered that her sweet words were masking her deadly intentions. I snapped back to reality. "Friends? I don't have friends like you. Don't come to my house again." Mabel, who had always seen me as amiable, didn't expect such an unceremonious dismissal. She was still in shock when I hung up the phone. I blocked her number immediately and took a long breath of relief. Failing to get into my house, I wondered what other schemes Mabel might concoct to harm me, but now, I had more important things to deal with, things far more critical than taking revenge on her. After realizing she really couldn't enter the residential area, Mabel contacted the supermarket again. She redirected the supplies originally intended for my house to a warehouse in the suburbs. In the following days, Mabel placed several orders with the factory. I roughly calculated the cost, and it seemed to match up with all her assets. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking she wouldn't have other channels to place orders now. The day before the apocalypse, the sky was eerily calm. It seemed like a storm was brewing. Everyone was oblivious to the imminent natural disaster when suddenly, a video went viral. In the video, a dimly lit room was filled with rows of cardboard boxes, almost entirely packed with various kinds of food. The caption read, "Plenty of supplies, feeling secure." The location was set in my residential area, and in the last second of the video, the doorplate of my house was inadvertently shown. Coincidence? Definitely not. The comments section was bustling. "Buying so much rice. Are you planning to eat for 10 years? Haha, someone's been reading too many apocalypse novels. Actually hoarding that much." Exactly. And it's in a wealthy area too. Probably just someone with more money than sense. There was no doubt in my mind that Mabel had posted the video. I scoffed to myself. To harm me, she really was stopping at nothing. The video hadn't been out long when another news caught everyone's attention. The government suddenly announced a notice. Starting tomorrow, everyone would be on leave, working from home, with no permission to go outside. This announcement shocked the nation. All factories and businesses stopped overnight. The efficiency of the state was terrifying. Online, numerous conspiracy theories emerged, but they were banned within seconds. I sighed in relief, as it seemed the message I had sent out earlier was confirmed by the authorities. That night, while countless people were restless, I managed to sleep well for the first time in a long time. The next morning, I woke up. The glaring sunlight streamed through the curtains. Cautiously, I extended a thermometer outside the window. 62 degrees. The high-temperature apocalypse had indeed arrived. I sighed resignedly and turned on the weather forecast. Today's forecast predicts a high of 52 degrees Celsius, pushing the limits of human endurance. And this is just the beginning. Over the next month, temperatures will continue to rise, reaching a terrifying figure in just 20 days. In a previous life, countless people perished from heatstroke. The intense heat accelerated the proliferation of bacteria, leading to outbreaks of plague. Prolonged heat and bacterial infections caused massive food spoilage. Common staples like rice became scarce. Supermarkets were quickly stripped bare. In this life, before the second day of extreme heat even dawned, the military began organizing people to seek refuge in bomb shelters. I lingered at the back of the crowd, secretly searching for Mabel. Soon, I spotted her surrounded by a group of people begging for food in a nearby corner. "Share some food with me. I saw you have some," they pleaded. "Please, my child hasn't eaten all day," another implored. Amidst the chaos, Mabel, looking pale and shaken, found herself trapped in the middle of a desperate crowd. This was the third day of the apocalypse. According to her original plan, she should have been comfortably at home, enjoying air conditioning and a lifetime supply of food, watching others fight over a few bags of rice. But unexpectedly, the government mandated everyone to seek shelter, forcing her to join the masses to avoid suspicion. Yet even during this crisis, Mabel refused to compromise her comfort. Snacking on fruits and treats along the way, always pristine and clean, it wasn't long before she attracted attention. At a loss, she suddenly noticed me, her eyes lit up, and she pointed at me, shouting, "Go to her, she was the city's richest, surely she has more supplies than I do." That video of stockpiling that went viral was shot in her house. Satisfied with her maneuver, she looked at me smugly. "Madeline, you wouldn't be so stingy as to not share some supplies, would you?" Thanks to her, I was now the focus of everyone's probing and greedy stares. Surrounded by malice from all sides, I felt a chill run down my spine. I knew that if I didn't dispel their thoughts now, I'd soon meet the same fate as in my previous life. Taking a deep breath, I declared loudly, "Yes, that video was filmed at my house." The crowd erupted in excitement. Before Mabel could revel in her victory, I continued, "However, I have already donated all my supplies and assets to the nation, hoping we can all pull together and survive this apocalypse." To prove my point, I opened my backpack to reveal nothing but a few changes of clothes. The shelter fell silent for a moment before buzzing with discussions, their attention shifting away from me. Just as I was about to breathe a sigh of relief, Mabel screamed incredulously, "Impossible, you must have hidden something else. How could you bear to donate all your supplies?" Irritated, I was about to retort when a stern voice intervened from behind. "I can confirm." A military officer emerged from the shadows, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "Madame Madeline has indeed donated all her materials, making a significant contribution to this relocation effort." He continued authoritatively, "In gratitude for Madeline's contributions, we will ensure her personal safety. I hope certain individuals will cease causing trouble unnecessarily." At this moment, my anxiety finally settled down. With the backing of official personnel, even if others were restless, they wouldn't dare to make a move against me lightly. After all, the apocalypse had just begun, and no one dared to openly oppose the authorities. Mabel glared at me with resentment in her eyes. She wanted to say more, but upon seeing the 3 stars on the military officer's shoulder, all she did was shoot me a fierce glare. I didn't take her provocation to heart and instead turned to walk towards the officer. Hunter had been my contact with the officials during this period. On the first day of my return, I utilized all my connections to convey the news of the apocalypse to the higher-ups. Initially, I wasn't taken seriously until I found out about Mabel's stockpile location. I had cameras secretly installed inside the house that clearly captured her storing dozens of tons of supplies in her space, which finally caught the officials' attention. Once they verified the reality of the apocalypse, I handed over my factory and all its supplies to the nation in exchange for military protection. After all, no matter how influential Mabel's golden finger was, it couldn't possibly outweigh the national machinery, could it? Now, everything was going as I had planned. I successfully moved into the military quarters, surrounded by official personnel, which quickly allowed me to sleep soundly. The next morning, I was awoken by a noisy commotion. "I want to see your leader. Let me in, don't block me. Do you know who I am? How dare you stop me?" It was Mabel's voice. I leisurely got ready and walked out. Just as I came out, I saw Mabel with disheveled hair, looking completely disheveled. She tried to enter but was stopped by several soldiers outside the security line. I watched her calmly. Upon seeing me, Mabel's eyes seemed to spit fire, as if she couldn't wait to tear me apart. If I wasn't mistaken, after I left with the officials yesterday, Mabel had to stay among the crowd. Everyone had already pegged her as an easy target, demanding supplies from her. Some nearly resorted to grabbing them directly. It was only thanks to the security team maintaining order that she escaped unscathed. Now, she didn't dare stay outside on her own. Not long after, the leader Mabel wanted to see came out. It was Hunter. Upon seeing him, Mabel rushed forward as if she had found a lifesaver, eager to speak. "I want to donate supplies and stay here too." Hunter raised an eyebrow and asked, "How much can you donate? If the amount is too small, we might not consider accepting it." Mabel lifted her head proudly and boasted, "I can donate a lot. Definitely more than Madeline, but I have one condition, and that is for her to move out," she said, pointing at me with undisguised malice. The surroundings fell silent for a moment, And Minister Hunter also remained quiet. An assistant nearby, unable to bear it, sarcastically remarked, "With just that small bag you're carrying, how much can you possibly donate?" Mabel gave her a cold glance but did not respond, continuing to address Hunter. "Don't worry, you'll only profit from this deal. I assure you, I can provide 10 times more than what Madeline offered." Hunter hesitated and glanced at me. I subtly nodded to him, clearing his throat. He then said, "Okay, but first, let me see the supplies you're talking about." At this, Mabel's face lit up with irrepressible triumph. In an effort to showcase her golden touch, Mabel made a grand spectacle, inviting a crowd to witness. Standing confidently in front of the warehouse, she seemed assured of her victory. With a mere thought, hundreds of large wooden crates materialized before everyone. "Take a good look, these are the supplies I plan to donate," she declared. "Isn't this enough? Now, it's time for Madeline to leave." The crowd was dumbfounded. Everyone watched Mabel in disbelief, marveling at how she could summon such an amount of supplies with a simple gesture. How did she do that? Just a wave of her hand and all these supplies appear. Could it be some kind of portable space? This is incredible. These supplies could last us a long time. While Mabel was basking in the adoration, I casually opened one of the crates and tore open the sealed bag, smiling slightly. "So, these are the supplies you're donating?" I raised my hand, allowing everyone to clearly see what I held. The bag contained nothing but a whole box of sand. Mabel's smile stiffened. She rushed forward, unable to believe what she saw in the crate. "How can it be sand?" she muttered, frantically opening the remaining crates. One by one, her disappointment grew. By the time she reached the last crate, her hands were trembling. Not a single grain of rice was to be found, let alone any substantial supplies. Expressionless, I watched the unfolding scene. From the moment I received Mabel's order, I had planned to make her pay dearly, offering prices far below market value to lure her in. She thought she was getting a deal, buying almost twice the supplies for half the money. A clear loss for her. Anyone in the know would have seen something was amiss. But not Mabel, ignorant of her own ignorance. She always considered herself a business prodigy. My thoughts were interrupted by the surrounding laughter. "She almost fooled us, claiming this sand was supplies. What use is sand now? We thought it was food. What a waste of space. It should have been me instead," someone else added. Hunter cleared his throat and spoke seriously. "If you can't produce the supplies, we don't accommodate irrelevant people here." Mabel, regaining her composure, glared at me and lunged, screaming, "It was you. You must have switched my supplies. Wench, I won't let you get away with this." Before she could reach me, my bodyguard firmly restrained her. I smirked, as if she had ever let me off the hook. From my rebirth to now, Mabel had constantly tried to put me in peril. If I didn't fight back, I'd betray the memory of my unjust past life. No matter how much Mabel shouted, it was futile. She was quickly removed by the guard team. The fact that Mabel possessed a space was deliberately spread by those with intentions, and within days, the news had circulated throughout the entire bunker. Wherever she went, people pressured her to hand over supplies, but no one believed that someone with her capabilities would only collect sand, day and night. She was closely watched, waiting for her to reveal food so they could immediately seize it. Unlike in my previous life, no one was lethal with Mabel, for no one knew if the materials in her space would vanish with her death. When I saw Mabel again a month later, the extreme heat had passed, thanks to the government's early interventions. This life didn't see the widespread deaths of my previous life, nor did an epidemic break out. Everything was moving in a positive direction. As I followed the officials back to the surface, a gaunt figure rushed towards me. "Madeline, how are you still alive?" It was Mabel. "You should have been dead by now. Why have I become like this? Where are my supplies? Did you steal them?" It had been over a month since I last saw her, and she seemed to have aged a decade. Her figure had become nothing more than skin and bones. Her eyes filled with hatred. She roared at me, "Why don't you just die? I was supposed to be one of the elite in this apocalypse, and it's all your fault I ended up like this. So what if you've been reborn? If I could kill you once, I can kill you again." I snapped awake. Standing before me was Mabel from my past life. Before I could even react, a dagger, gleaming coldly, materialized in her hand and plunged straight toward me. In a flash, a gunshot rang out. A bloody hole appeared in Mabel's head. Her pupils dilated in disbelief, as if she couldn't believe she had just been killed. Then, she slowly fell to the ground. I was not surprised in the least. I locked eyes with Hunter, who was holding the gun. "Mabel, after hiding and surviving being robbed of her food hundreds of times, had gradually realized that the people around her wouldn't actually kill her. Slowly, her courage grew. She thought her special ability was invincible, even the authorities seemed reluctant to give up on her personal space. That's why she brazenly attacked me in front of Hunter. Unfortunately for her, she had miscalculated. Compared to tangible supplies, an empty space is at best a warehouse, and now, the city was not lacking in warehouses. Even if Mabel had resisted attacking me, her only fate would have been dissection. With Mabel's death, the dangers around me had nearly vanished. After saying goodbye to Hunter and his group, I set off alone on the road back home. The apocalypse had ended, and many places were still waiting to be rebuilt. Due to my outstanding performance during this period, I had been officially appointed as one of the city's leaders. There were still many tasks awaiting my attention. Mabel's death was now just a trivial matter to me. My steps would not falter because of her. Even though I had been through dark times, my future was as brilliant as the morning dawn, filled with hope and beauty. Story 2. The Crown Prince is selecting his consort. Grandmother specially brought out jewelry to adorn my elder sister and me. Though my sister always favored extravagance, she chose a cracked jade bracelet. I realized she had been reborn too. In my past life, as the illegitimate sister, I could only settle for leftovers. Ever since wearing this cracked jade bracelet, my beauty and grace surpassed all before, driving the Crown Prince to utter infatuation. In the end, I successfully married into the Eastern Palace. On our wedding day, my jealous elder sister stabbed me to death with a dagger in her madness. How dare a worthless wretch like you marry the Crown Prince? The position of Crown Princess belongs to me alone. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day when my sister and I were choosing jewelry together. Grandmother, this is the only bracelet I desire. In the boudoir, the eldest sister was acting coquettishly. Grandmother refused. When did your taste become so poor, child? With all these golden hairpins and silver ornaments to choose from, you had to pick this vulgar jade bracelet. How utterly disgraceful. My late grandmother always said this jade bracelet suited me perfectly. Vera, don't be childish. This imperial selection is no trivial matter. Be good and take it off now. My elder sister defiantly slipped the bracelet onto her wrist despite grandmother's protests, eyeing me with triumphant glee. I've made my choice. Now it's your turn, little sister. 1. I glanced at the cracked jade bracelet with indifference before casually selecting a hairpin instead. In my past life, I only chose bracelets because my sister had already taken all the good ones. Plain in appearance, she compensated with a taste for extravagance. I'm naturally reserved and dislike drawing attention. Having no desire to become that ridiculous crown princess, I chose the flawed jade bracelet instead. Little did I know this bracelet would alter my fate, transforming me from a sparrow into a phoenix. Grandmother, I've made my choice. I tucked the jade hairpin into my coiffure. My elder sister's face twisted in disbelief as she sneered. This is what you chose after all that deliberation? What terrible taste. You're just like your wretched mother. I sneered inwardly but played along. Indeed, my judgment is poor. I had my eye on this bracelet first, but you beat me to it. Sister, if I'd chosen this bracelet too, would you have yielded it to me, dear sister? My elder sister immediately clutched her wrist with a fierce glare. What's mine stays mine. Keep your hands off my things. I smirked, just wanted to tease her, but she actually took it seriously. I wouldn't take this jade bracelet even if it were free. Wearing this bracelet transformed my already lovely features into radiant beauty overnight. The crown prince took one look and had the queen appoint me as his consort on the spot. The whole court burned with envy. On my wedding day, my jealous half-sister stabbed me through the heart with a dagger. How dare a wretch like you marry the crown prince? The position of crown princess belongs to me alone. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself miraculously reborn. I watched as my half-sister admired the bracelet on her wrist, her eyes brimming with unconcealed delight. I couldn't help wondering, what kind of magic does this bracelet possess to restore youth overnight? At dawn the next day, my elder sister rushed to our grandmother's chamber. Eager to show off her transformed appearance, I took a glance, just as in my past life, only this time, it was my sister who'd undergone the change. Her skin was fair and smooth as a peeled egg, with a slender figure swaying like a willow in the breeze. She looked the same, yet somehow more beautiful. This delighted her grandmother immensely, who eagerly asked what secret remedy she'd used. The elder sister dared not credit the jade bracelet, so she fabricated a hasty excuse. My son is so handsome. Surely the crown prince will take notice. Of course, my elder sister said, casting a disdainful glance my way. Her eyes seemed to say, just wait. I'll be the crown princess this lifetime, and you'll be scrubbing my feet. Vera, hurry to the storeroom and pick out fine fabrics. Have the seamstresses make you new gowns at once. At grandmother's instruction, my elder sister left in barely concealed delight, watching her skipping figure retreat. I curled my lips in a cold smile. If you covet the beauty this jade bracelet brings, you'd better be ready for its curse, for days. Grandmother took both my sister and me shopping in preparation for the imperial selection. That day, the coachman accidentally ran into a pedestrian with the carriage. The man immediately demanded compensation, refusing to leave unless we paid up. Grandmother wanted no trouble with such riffraff and was ready to settle with cash, but my elder sister swaggered off the carriage and began bossing the pedestrian around. How dare you try to swindle me? Do you have any idea who I am? The passerby shook their head vigorously. The eldest sister snorted arrogantly, I'm the future crown princess. Know your place and scram. The onlookers were all common folk. At the mention of crown princess, and seeing her breathtaking beauty, some immediately dropped to their knees in fear, addressing her as, Your Highness. This gave the eldest sister immense satisfaction. The sheer thrill of standing second only to the highest authority. A middle-aged man dressed as a Taoist priest emerged from the crowd, studied the eldest sister's wrist for a moment, then spoke, Might I ask where this jade bracelet came from, young lady? The eldest sister hastily pulled down her sleeve and snapped, None of your business, the Taoist priest said with grave concern. This bracelet carries heavy energy, prolonged wear will harm your health, miss, you'd best remove it. My elder sister thought I'd hired this priest to deceive her, so not only did she ignore him, but she even cursed at the poor man. Humph, you filthy Taoists always spout nonsense to deceive people. Get lost, scram, I'm dying to uncover the secret of this bracelet. My gut tells me this Taoist knows something. My elder sister mistook my curiosity for infatuation and sneered, too. Oh, what a vulgar little tramp, getting all worked up over some Taoist. Next you'll be stripping naked and throwing yourself at monks. In my past life, you seem to know all the details. Sister, could it be you've actually done such things yourself? I retorted with deliberate indifference. Enough of this nonsense. Grandmother cut off my elder sister's words. My elder sister scoffed coldly, Such ill manners, I won't stoop to your level today. I'm destined to be the crown princess. Me, Naya, I'm gonna be the crown princess. Pfft, as if she's the only one who's ever done that. The day of palace entry arrived swiftly. Alighting from the carriage, I saw about 15 or 16 noble daughters of marriageable age gathered at the palace gates. My elder sister scanned the crowd and, finding no beauty to rival her own, curled her lip in disdain. Oh, dear sister, you must be green with envy right now. TSK, but what can you do? I'm simply the prettier one now. Father and grandmother have placed all their bets on me this time. With my looks, I'm certain to become the crown prince's official consort when I enter the palace. She preened like a peacock, addressing the crowd with unbridled arrogance. Stop scheming to seduce his highness, girls. You'd better focus on currying favor with me instead. When I become the crown princess, I'll make sure each of you marries well. With that, the eldest sister swayed her hips and walked away. The noble ladies nearby exchanged bewildered glances and began whispering among themselves, stunned by her audacity. Who's this lunatic? She's got the goods to be cocky. Just look at those two headlights up front. Pretty face means nothing. She's not worthy. His Highness would never be that shallow. Humph, pipe dreams. Think you're special just 'cause you're pretty. Everyone was secretly mocking my elder sister for overestimating herself. But only I knew the truth. She was telling the truth. The crown prince would undoubtedly fall for my elder sister at first sight and soon make her his princess consort. From then on, my elder sister reached the pinnacle of her life, yet, this marked the beginning of her nightmare. After entering the palace, our group was settled in the selection pavilion. The palace matrons would instruct us in court etiquette here until the imperial selection commenced. That day, my elder sister heard the empress was hosting a flower viewing banquet in the palace, her face flickering between nervousness and excitement, because she knew, in our past life, it was at this very flower viewing banquet that the crown prince fell for me at first sight. He immediately begged the empress to arrange our marriage, making me the crown princess. Overnight, this sparrow became a phoenix. My grandparents, father, the entire clan swelled with pride because of me. My elder sister must have been green with envy back then, so in this life, the moment she heard the empress was hosting a flower viewing banquet, she specially gave the matron 50 taels of silver to secure her a seat near the crown prince. That evening, the eldest sister wore an emerald gossamer dress, her hairstyle and makeup identical to mine in the past life. With such elaborate attire, she naturally wouldn't wear a damaged jade bracelet, yet the mirror still reflected her same breathtaking beauty. She placed the jade bracelet into the jewelry box and left with contentment. After she left, I held the jade bracelet and examined it closely. Just as expected, dark crimson streaks resembling blood had reappeared along the bracelet's original fracture lines. In this lifetime, the blood-like veins coiled like serpents, flowing unrestrained within the jade. My elder sister must have been wearing it these days, making the patterns more pronounced than when I wore it at my wedding in my past life. 3. What are you doing? A sharp reprimand snapped me out of my thoughts. My sister snatched the bracelet from my hand in fury, scolding, "How dare you, Sable, stealing from me?" I lifted my eyelids slightly and said coolly, "Vera, don't you think there's something wrong with this jade bracelet? Though she killed me in our past life, out of kindness I still wanted to warn her, but she didn't appreciate it. Instead, she accused me of stealing. What's the problem? Your guilty conscience is showing." Lucky I came back, or you'd have stolen this bracelet for sure. How dare you lie when I caught you red-handed? Sable, don't you dare call yourself my sister from now on. How could the crown princess possibly have a thieving sister? What disgrace. Seeing her slip the jade bracelet back on, I had no choice but to hold my tongue. At the flower banquet, my elder sister stared unblinkingly at Crown Prince Darius. Just as I was wondering how to catch Darius' attention, he strode purposefully through the crowd toward my sister. My sister couldn't contain her excitement as she coyly raised her wine cup. "Your Highness, the Crown Prince, staring at me all night. Do you wish to become my princess consort?" Darius demanded sharply, seizing his elder sister's wrist. The eldest sister froze, utterly unprepared for Darius's bluntness, stammering in response, Your Highness the Crown Prince." She dropped to her knees mid-sentence, her entire body trembling. Darius toyed with the jade bracelet on his elder sister's wrist, his gaze sinister and tone mocking. "If you fear me this much, how could you possibly be worthy of becoming my crown princess? This might work." The eldest sister immediately regained her composure, lifting her gaze to meet Darius's eyes. With a coquettish glance and a playful arch of her brows, she boldly declared, "Your Highness is exceptionally handsome. This humble maiden has long admired you. May your Highness show me favor." Darius took his sister's hand, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Perfect, Imperial Mother, she shall be my crown princess." The declaration sent shockwaves through the assembled crowd. That's all it took to decide. What? It's really her? Then what was the point of us learning all those rules? Perhaps to serve her more comfortably in the future. This is utterly preposterous of the crown prince. That wench must have used some sorcery to seduce him. I won't accept this. Never. The eldest sister's eyes widened in disbelief. Even though she'd expected it, it still felt surreal. That's all it took. Her cheeks flushed crimson as her delicate frame trembled slightly. Darius pulled the eldest sister into an embrace, his movements tender and affectionate. I alone saw the ruthless greed flashing in his eyes. Exactly, in my past life, it wasn't beauty that made me crown princess. It was this jade bracelet. Now that my elder sister wears the bracelet, she'll inevitably become the crown princess. From the very beginning, whoever wears the jade bracelet shall be the crown princess. Even a dog could qualify if it wore the bracelet. Her Majesty the Queen had been tirelessly arranging the Crown Prince's bride selection. Now that the decision was finally made, she was overjoyed and immediately summoned her eldest sister to sit beside her. My elder sister cast a disdainful glance at me through the crowd before striding haughtily toward the raised platform. Darius also left the flower viewing banquet. Out of curiosity, I disguised myself as a eunuch and followed him. After winding through several corridors, Darius entered a secluded palace chamber. I peeked inside by poking a hole in the rice paper window. The interior was dimly lit. A massive scarlet coffin stood in the cavernous hall, draped with crimson silk. Eerie talismans plastered the silk beneath, while twin rows of red candles flickered without wind. The entire scene radiated sinister dread. I held my breath, frozen in place. Darius whispered to the coffin in a hushed voice, "Just hold on a little longer, Valentina. It's almost time." My heart clenched. What did he mean by almost time? What on earth is Darius in such a hurry to do? The next day, the Crown Prince and Empress sent a continuous stream of lavish gifts to the eldest sister's chamber, for this made all the imperial consort candidates green with envy. That Vera is such a seductress. It's one thing to catch the Crown Prince's eye, but how did she even charm Her Majesty the Queen? Haven't you heard? Last night I learned His Majesty is drafting an edict. She might be moving into the Eastern Palace next month. Didn't royal weddings for crown princes always take at least 6 months to prepare? Why the rush this time? Who knows? Probably our crown prince fell head over heels for Vera and just can't wait to marry her. Ugh, that damn Vera. What kind of crazy luck did she stumble upon? Amidst the murmurs of the crowd, the eldest sister made a dazzling entrance in her splendid attire, followed by 6 palace maids, some were fanning her, others carrying her palanquin, wiping her sweat, or holding trays of fruits and pastries. The sheer extravagance of it all left us common folks utterly awestruck. She looked up with her nose in the air, exuding utter arrogance. Humph, gossiping behind my back. I told you I'd become the crown princess. You'd better watch your step from now on. If I hear any more malicious rumors, you'll regret wagging your tongues. Then she strode right up to me. Little sister, you must be feeling utterly devastated right now, aren't you? We're both daughters of the Sue family, yet here I stand as the exalted crown princess. As for you, just wait till father casts you out of this house. I gave her a meaningful glance, my face deliberately expressionless. Good riddance. I'd welcome Warren banishing me. A father who trades his daughter's marriage for political gain isn't worth keeping. I forced a smile and said insincerely, the crown prince falling for you at first sight is wonderful news, an honor for our Sue family. How could I possibly be disappointed? I'm overjoyed for you. Let me offer my congratulations, dear sister. May you and His Highness enjoy marital bliss and be blessed with heirs soon. These words curved my elder sister's lips into a satisfied smile. At least you know your place. To be frank with you all, Her Majesty the Empress has set my wedding date with the Crown Prince for mid-next month. You'd better start currying favor with me now if you know what's good for you, or this future crown princess will have you married off to eunuchs. My elder sister is truly, I'm moved to tears. Several less fortunate maids had already begun massaging elder sister's legs. Not wanting to be outdone, I wisely offered her a grape. Sis, have some grapes. My elder sister slapped the grapes from my hand, her eyes filled with disdain and disgust. Are you stupid? Don't you know how to peel them? Me? Endure, just 2 more weeks. Let's see how long my crown princess sister can keep up this arrogance. Time flew by, and the day of my sister's royal wedding arrived. The mansion was ablaze with crimson silks and lavish decorations. Grandmother and father beamed with joy. My elder sister, adorned in phoenix coronet and embroidered robe, flaunted the dowry gifts filling the room when she saw me arrive. Little sister, you've never seen so many jewels in your life, have you? Blame your wretched fate for being trampled under my feet forever. How laughable that your future marriage depends on my mercy. In her glee, my sister failed to notice the flaw in her wedding gown. The inner lining of the bridal gown was intricately embroidered with golden talismanic script by the crown prince himself. The phoenix coronet appeared pearl-adorned on the surface, yet its core was entirely filled with cinnabar, and those crimson embroidered shoes upon her feet seemed steeped in fresh blood. The peony petals on the shoe uppers twisted unnaturally, as though feeding on lingering resentment. In my past life, I was just like this, filled with nothing but joy and excitement, blind to all the red flags. I willingly walked into that soul-devouring tomb. Looking back now, even if my elder sister hadn't killed me, I doubt this crown princess would have lived much longer. My elder sister pressed her sharp nails against my forehead. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Pity. All this belongs to me now. She laughed heartily, the jade bracelets on her wrist clinking with each movement. After just half a month apart, the jade bracelets on her wrist had turned blood red. This is downright creepy. And my sister's face, once plump and rosy, now with sunken eyes and hollow cheeks. Sister, have you not been eating well lately? You look so much thinner. My elder sister froze, clearly noticing the changes in her body, but the prospect of becoming the crown princess had completely addled her wits. Stroking her face, she instead taunted me with feigned concern. What would you know? His Highness prefers women of my delicate constitution. Though I suppose my dear sister must have been too heartsick to eat these days. Positively green with envy, aren't you? Me, no good deed goes unpunished. You can't wake someone who's pretending to sleep. This conversation is going nowhere. Best of luck to you, sis. The auspicious hour arrived as the wedding attendants came from outside. My elder sister stepped into the bridal sedan chair with joyous anticipation, though I still haven't unraveled the mystery of the jade bracelet from our past lives. But in this lifetime, since she chose the bracelet, the karmic consequences are no longer my concern. Little did I expect, that very night, I was tightly bound by black-clad men and dragged from the estate. It was the same hall with the crimson coffin, but now accompanied by a Taoist priest. Darius absently stroked the blood-red jade bracelet while my elder sister knelt at his feet. Her face was smeared with blood, eyes wide with terror. Recognizing me, she immediately fawned over Darius. "Your Highness, it was her. This jade bracelet originally belonged to her. I just took it because it looked pretty. Your Highness, if you need a vessel for Princess Valentina's soul transfer, use her body. I'm completely innocent." I took a deep breath and pretended not to understand. "Sister, what soul-swapping jade bracelet are you talking about? What on earth do you mean, little sister? Why can't you understand?" My legitimate elder sister flew into a rage, seeing me play dumb, and started cursing. "Sable, you wretched bitch, stop pretending. I never thought you'd dare scheme against me. I know you've been reborn too. No wonder you refused the jade bracelet this life, avoiding all conflict, even yielding the crown princess position to me without a fight. So you knew all along the crown prince planned to use my body as a vessel for Princess Valentina's soul. How cruel, Sable. Pushing me into this hellfire, you're utterly despicable." I was clueless before, but now everything makes perfect sense. In my past life, Crown Prince Darius flew into a rage after my death. He immediately summoned royal physicians to revive me, insisting they bring me back even after learning I died. Back then, I truly believed he loved me beyond all reason. Looking back, I realized love had completely clouded my judgment. Everything Darius did was solely to save his sister, Princess Valentina, who fell from her carriage and died a year ago. After her death, Princess Valentina's spirit became bound to her jade bracelet, the intimate jewelry she always wore. After countless twists of fate and strange coincidences, the jade bracelet ended up in my possession. After my death, I overheard a Taoist priest telling Darius, "That fool Vera ruined His Highness's plans. Sable is dead. Her vessel is unusable now. Your Highness, we must find another pure saintess immediately." Darius' eyes gleamed like icy blades, chilling to the bone. "Damn it all, that Vera will rue the day she crossed me. After all the meticulous planning with the Queen Mother, everything's gone to waste." A voice suddenly echoed from within the jade bracelet. "Brother, I can't stand being trapped in here any longer. It's mind-numbingly boring every single day." 5. Darius quickly comforted his younger sister, asking her to wait a little longer. I hadn't yet come to terms with my own death when I was abruptly reborn again, but I never expected my legitimate sister had also reincarnated. She'd already taken every action I'd planned from my past life. Now I finally understand everything. Those crimson streaks in the bracelet are Princess Valentina's spirit, growing stronger by feeding on human vitality. No wonder my stepsister withered so drastically in just half a month. Once the jade bracelet becomes completely bloodshot, Princess Valentina's spirit will be fully awakened. "Shut the hell up." Darius struck my stepsister across the face with a thunderous expression. "If it weren't for your stupid mistake with the birth date, I would have succeeded by now." The elder sister turned deathly pale and began babbling incoherently. "Your Highness, I beg your forgiveness. Your Highness, you've got the wrong person. The pure saint you seek is her. The one you're truly looking for is Sable. She's the real pure saint. It was Sable who chose the jade bracelet, just like in our past life. I beg you, Your Highness, please go find Sable instead. Don't come after me. My body isn't suitable. I don't want to die yet." Sobs. "You've already found the pure saintess, with Sable and the princess swapping souls. Just let me go." The eldest sister pointed at me again with her claw. Darius sneered coldly, glancing at the jade bracelet in his hand. "Valentina, who would you choose?" A faint, ethereal voice whispered. "Brother, her body's energy is too turbid. Her soul isn't pure. A soul exchange could damage my spirit. This girl's spirit is far purer, a true saint physique that perfectly harmonizes with my own soul. Brother, only a vessel this immaculate is worthy of my noble status." Mid-sentence, a Taoist priest abruptly began chanting incantations before addressing Darius. "Your Highness, Princess Valentina's prolonged contact with Vera has tainted her spiritual essence. A hasty soul transfer may fail. This humble Taoist fears the ritual could collapse." "What does the Taoist master suggest?" "This humble priest believes swapping Princess Valentina's soul with Vera's would be the safest course." My elder sister froze in terror, her legs trembling uncontrollably. "No, please no, Your Highness, please, I beg you." Princess Valentina looked utterly disgusted. That's gross." "Never mind, brother, I'll choose her instead." The casual tone was like discussing what the weather's like today. I looked up at them and asked, "Aren't you afraid of karma for taking lives so recklessly?" Darius looked thoroughly annoyed upon hearing this. Only you low-born fools believe in karma. I trust only in human agency. My elder sister, barely escaped, immediately chimed in with venom. Exactly, His Highness speaks truth. What nonsense about retribution. It's an honor for you to conduct Princess Valentina's soul transfer. How dare you speak of consequences, you imbecile. Still seething, my sister hissed viciously in my ear. This was always your destiny. I was a fool to intervene and save you prematurely. Now I shall restore the fate that rightfully belongs to you. She dragged me and threw me violently before Darius and the Taoist priest. Fawning, Your Highness, you may now perform the soul transference for Princess Valentina. Darius nodded. The Taoist priest immediately transferred the phoenix coronet and ceremonial robes from my elder sister onto me, then they placed me inside the coffin, merging me with Princess Valentina's corpse. The jade bracelet that nourished Princess Valentina was also wrapped in layers of talismanic paper and placed upon my abdomen. As the incantations began, I felt a faint tingling sensation in my soul. It hurts, it really hurts. Meanwhile, Princess Valentina inside the jade bracelet screamed. Darius frantically tried to comfort her while demanding answers from the Taoist priest. The priest immediately noticed the peachwood hairpin on my head, his face turning pale. Where did you get this hairpin? How could someone like you possess such a thing? I sneered and said, You third-rate Taoist and your crooked tricks. Preying on royalty and nobility, your master sent me to warn you, he who lives by the sword shall die by it. That old Taoist I met on the street. I suspected there was more to him. It took me tremendous effort to finally track him down. The old Taoist priest, filled with remorse, gifted me this millennia-old peachwood hairpin for protection. A millennia-old peachwood hairpin. Master actually parted with such a treasure, instead of showing remorse. That priest even tried to claim the hairpin from my head as his own. Little did he know, his master had already placed a restraining spell upon it. The slightest movement would summon heavenly thunder. A thunderous boom erupted. The divine lightning struck him directly, killing the Taoist priest. Darius hacked the Taoist priest to pieces, nearly driven mad with rage. He'd waited a whole year just to give his sister a physical form, and now this damned priest had to die suddenly. How could he possibly endure this? Valentina, Valentina, don't be afraid. I'll find another Taoist priest right away. I swear I'll save you. But Princess Valentina's soul had already been scorched by the ancient peachwood hairpin, writhing in agony with piercing screams. Brother, anybody will do. I can't take this torment anymore. Brother, it hurts so much. It's burning. Brother, can't you hurry up already? Darius snapped out of his daze, realizing my body was unusable. He threw me out of the coffin and placed my elder sister inside instead. The eldest sister shrieked in horror at the sight of Princess Valentina's long-rotted corpse. Thrashing about in terror, Princess Valentina flew into a rage and screamed, Consider yourself honored to host my soul. That hideous face of yours turns my stomach. How dare a lowly wretch like you refuse a royal soul transfer? Brother, quick, tie her up for me. Darius complied, to keep his half-sister from struggling. He climbed atop and pinned her down forcefully. The coffin creaked alarmingly, nearly bursting at the seams. Seeing them all preoccupied, I stealthily untied the ropes. Binding my hands, snatching up the fallen sword, I thrust it with all my might straight through Darius and my half-sister. One strike wasn't enough. I plunged the blade repeatedly until their bodies in the coffin were reduced to pulp. Suddenly, an eerie silence fell. It took Princess Valentina a long moment to process what had happened. She let out a mad, dog-like scream. Ah, 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 you killed my brother. Ah, I'll kill you, you wretched bitch. I'll make you die horribly. The blood-red jade bracelet clattered violently with Princess Valentina's fury. So what? Just impotent rage. This spoiled, tyrannical princess would only bring calamity upon our great Xia people even if revived. 6. I seized the jade bracelet and smashed it violently against the ground, leaving shattered fragments scattered everywhere. In an instant, it turned into a pile of fine powder. Without the jade bracelet as its vessel, Princess Valentina's soul grew exceedingly feeble. She tried to possess me, but my ancient peachwood hairpin kept her at bay. Twice scorched by its power, she writhed in agony and seethed with hatred. Frantic with rage, she looked ready to tear me limb from limb. You wretched bitch, I'll haunt you from beyond the grave. The words trailed off unfinished. I turned to look. Standing at the doorway was none other than the old Taoist master I'd sought earlier. The elder explained he'd rushed here after sensing the heavenly thunder's restraint, and had taken the opportunity to guide Princess Valentina's spirit through the ghost gate for reincarnation. I stood holding my bloodstained sword, its blade dripping crimson, appearing exhilarated. My girl, how delightfully savage. Before I could ask what he meant, the Taoist priest dragged Darius out of the coffin. The sight was too gruesome to bear. Girl, quit gawking and lend a hand. Got 2 eggs for eyes that only blink but never see. My body tensed up abruptly. What an amusing way of speaking. Why on earth did he call me his daughter goose? Does that mean I'm a big goose or something? I was afraid I might be too late. I can't believe you actually dared to kill the crown prince. That takes some serious guts. Wow, it finally dawned on me. I didn't just kill the crown prince. I murdered my own sister, and accidentally summoned lightning to strike down the Taoist priest too, and scattered Princess Valentina's soul to boot. 3 lives plus 1 ghost. This is too heavy a burden to bear. What should we do, master? Taoist, the old Taoist priest smacked his lips with an utterly unreliable air. I didn't report you, so why panic? That crown prince should have been written off ages ago, if I hadn't also transmigrated. Mid-sentence, the old priest clenched his eyes shut as his body began trembling. In the blink of an eye, everything returned to normal as he began muttering curses under his breath. Damn this system. What's wrong with speaking my mind? How dare it electrocute me? After the outburst, his expression turned grave as he shifted his tone. The crown prince now rules with cruelty and tyranny, plunging the imperial house into chaos. Years ago, when this humble Taoist observed the celestial signs, I saw the North Star dimming with omens of demise, while the polar star in the north shone with dazzling brilliance, a clear warning from the heavens. And you, the sacredine physique, twice-born mortal, embodiment of the lunar star. This is the destiny the heavenly Tao has bestowed upon you. This old Taoist master truly has profound knowledge. He even knows about my reincarnation, but what's all this about destiny and the lunar star? I can't make heads or tails of it. What do you mean? The old Taoist priest looked like he was constipated. To put it simply, you're getting a promotion. Me, promotion, to heaven, or immortality. The old priest was about to burst with anger, shouting in my ear, I'm gonna make you the crown prince. I pick my ears. No way, seriously, this is even crazier than when my sister swore she'd become the crown princess. The old Taoist priest smiled mysteriously. There's nothing in this world I can't handle. Let me tell you, my dear, I'm running a top tier. Ugh, he's having another episode. The priest endured the pain with a forced smile. Don't worry, my only flaw is being a bit too loose-lipped. I'm guilty. I just didn't want to see you die too. At this point, it'd be ridiculous if people didn't think I did it. He pulled out a tattered, nearly falling apart book from his robe, dipping a brush in Darius' blood. He began scribbling on its pages. In mere moments, he held the bronze mirror before my eyes. I looked. Holy hell, this was bad. The face staring back was none other than Darius' ghastly visage. When I move, he moves too. When I laugh, he laughs too. He is me, and I am him, though it's all because of me. This face looks way more handsome now. I stood there basking in sweet contentment. God knows how badly I want to be a man. I long to experience that effortless confidence of just standing tall. The Taoist priest kept muttering beside me. I used to write angsty novels, but then I won 50 million. To claim that 50 mil, this damn system, forced me to finish this trash novel. Screw the tragedy. Badass female leads rule. Before this world stabilizes, I'll give you one hell of a gift. Damn it, you stupid system. Are you trying to electrocute me? Just keep playing emperor then. I froze. But aren't you the crown prince? The Taoist priest's face twisted into a grotesque grimace. Oh. Crown prince, how dull. Our leading lady shall ascend the throne in one leap. The emperor has already been written off by me. Starting now, you shall be Emperor, your majesty. Taoist priest, are you all right? I helped him up, thinking he was just playing around with me. Little did I know, the sudden tolling of bells echoed from outside. 3 long, 5 short. Those were the death knells for His Majesty's passing. Taoist master, has His Majesty truly dead? I was just about to ask him, but when I turned around, he'd vanished. Even those bodies had disappeared along with him. The entire hall was empty except for me. The Taoist priest's voice still echoed through the air. Sweetie, you must expand your harem, men or women, doesn't matter. Just make sure they're gorgeous, only the beautiful ones. It's all up to you now. Work hard and do your job well. Damn it, why did I get transmigrated as a Taoist priest? And an old one at that. Wah, a faint smirk played on my lips. What nonsense is this? I don't understand. This Taoist priest is being deliberately cryptic again, but as the crown prince. No, as the emperor now. I vow to ensure every woman in Great Xia can attend school and choose their own marriage. May all people have enough to eat and warm clothes to wear. May everyone be spared from war and survive natural disasters. Wishing peace and safety for all. Next story. When extreme cold weather hit, I was comfortably lounging on the sofa, enjoying skewers with sizzling meat on the stove, warming myself by the fire and sipping tea. I created a group chat with my ex-boyfriend and my close girlfriend, both of whom had once betrayed me, and sent them a video. With a smile, I teasingly asked them, "Want some?" I had been reborn. In my past life, I discovered the affair between my boyfriend Oliver and my close friend Abigail, as well as their plot to swindle me out of my money and take my life. In a fit of rage, they threw me out of the house, unexpectedly. What was supposed to be a typical September day turned bizarrely into a heavy snowfall. The temperature plummeted to -50 degrees overnight, and there I was, frozen to death at the doorstep. In my blurry consciousness filled with hatred, I cursed them. If I had another life, I would make sure that deceitful couple could neither live in peace nor die in it. What was an almost numbing coldness was suddenly replaced by a scorching heat. Someone nudged me. "Haley, hurry up, please." Surprised, I opened my eyes and found myself standing at the entrance of my company, blocking my impatient colleagues. I instinctively checked my phone. It was August 13th. I had been reborn, back to 20 days before my untimely death. Overwhelmed with both shock and joy, I first laughed, then cried. I wanted to rush back and confront those traitors immediately, but soon, I calmed down. I remembered the sudden, unprecedented, and terrifying snowstorm before my death. This summer was absurdly hot. Everyone relying on air conditioning to survive. By the end of August, it had just started to cool down, but who could have predicted that in early September I would be frozen to death? So, my priority now wasn't revenge, but to find a way to survive the upcoming extreme cold spell. Ignoring the bewildered looks from my colleagues, I went to resign from my job. Then, I returned to the house I shared with Oliver, packing up all my important belongings. However, I wasn't in a rush to leave. I had already planned on making things difficult for him. Even if I were to go, I took Oliver's documents and downloaded a few loan apps, entering all his information. After preparing a delicious meal, I waited for Oliver to come home from work. When he walked in and saw me with a sweet smile and a table full of food, he was taken aback. I gently told him that I was planning to sell one of the houses my parents left me to buy the house he had his eye on for our wedding home. Oliver and Abigail had been scheming to coax me into selling my parents' house to steal my money. Seeing me finally agreeing to sell it, he was thrilled and came over to kiss me, but I pushed him away. "Let's eat. I've taken a week off, and tomorrow morning I need to see the real estate agent." During dinner, I coyly took out my phone to make a funny video with him. Oliver, who usually hated being filmed, now complied with everything to convince me to sell the house. He blinked when asked and nodded when prompted. As soon as the loans of over $1 million from several apps were secured, I uninstalled the apps and put down my phone with a laugh. "Oh dear, I just can't get it right. Let's stop filming." Both of us enjoyed the meal, and the atmosphere was exceptionally harmonious. The next day, after Oliver went to work, I packed my belongings, took my cat Mimi, and left. My parents left me 2 properties before they passed away. One was a school district apartment in the downtown area which I had rented out since high school. The other was a small villa at the foot of Zijing Mountain on the outskirts of Ning City. Although its location is remote and the price cannot be compared with villas in the city, it is still more than enough to exchange it for a better apartment in the city center. But this is my home, and selling it is simply out of the question. The house has been uninhabited for a long time, so I arranged for a cleaning service to tidy up while I pondered how to prepare for the deadly cold spells ahead. Underfloor heating, air conditioning heat. No, none of those would work. With heavy snow, the pipes would surely freeze, and the power lines could be snapped. Relying on heating systems like those was impractical. Then it hit me, a bomb shelter. I suddenly leapt up and rushed to the basement, where a metal door was installed on the east wall. I grabbed the rusty handle and pulled hard, a gust of cool air hitting me in the face. This was the spot when my dad was renovating the house. The wall adjacent to Zijing Mountain in the basement collapsed, revealing a bomb shelter built during the war era. The shelter, 4 meters wide and 50 meters long, was naturally cool in summer and warm in winter, and it was dry inside, so my dad cleaned it up and turned it into our storage room. In the summers, the 3 of us would even sleep there, enjoying the coolness. My mom used to joke that the shelter saved us a lot on our electricity bills. With this temperature-stable bomb shelter, Why should I worry about extreme temperatures? I had the cleaners tidy up the shelter, then hired some workers to coat the interior with lime wash. By the time we finished, it was already dark. Oliver called me, his tone full of affection, inquiring about the house sale. I brushed him off and hung up. Men really can act, full of fake longing, yet he hadn't even noticed his stuff was missing, probably celebrating with Abigail, thinking they had tricked me into agreeing to sell the house. But I had no time for him then. I had more important things to do. The next morning, I immediately hired someone to improve the ventilation of the bomb shelter. I remembered clearly that before I died, the heavy snow had already reached waist height, so the original air vents would definitely be blocked by snow. The worker, focused solely on his job, didn't ask unnecessary questions. He installed long stainless steel pipes on each vent and welded stainless steel caps on top to prevent snow from clogging them. Then, I bought 2 sets of stoves, one purely for heating and the other for both heating and cooking, both equipped with chimneys to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. After having them installed, I bought a large quantity of firewood and charcoal and also a roasting oven. In the event of an apocalypse, utility services would be unreliable. Only the most primitive means like firewood would be safe for both heating and cooking. Although the cave was temperature controlled, I wasn't sure how low the temperatures could go, so it was better to be safe than sorry. Considering that the pipes might also freeze, I decided to have a well drilled in the basement. Like the bomb shelter, the well water would be at a constant temperature and wouldn't freeze, no matter how cold it got outside. The well driller was surprised, noting that most people would have a well in their yard, but I had already concocted an excuse, claiming I was developing skincare products that required water untouched by sunlight. He was completely fooled by my earnest nonsense and, with a look of admiration, quickly finished the job. Next, I began to stock up on supplies. Before I died, overnight, the snow had piled up to waist height, making it impossible to leave the house. Without supplies, one would either freeze or starve to death. Anticipating a power outage, I bought 30 boxes of candles, 20 solar-powered lights, 20 high-capacity power banks, 2 boxes of matches, 2 boxes of lighters, and 2 boxes of windproof torches. I stocked up on 500 kilograms of rice, 50 kilograms of flour, 20 boxes of dried noodles, 20 boxes of instant noodles, and 200 boxes of water. I gathered various dried vegetables, chicken feet, duck necks, potato chips, beef jerky, rice noodles, rice vermicelli, beverages, coffee, and various canned goods. I also stocked up on toilet paper, sanitary pads, disposable underwear, shampoo, body wash, facial cleanser, toothpaste, toothbrushes, skincare products, and all the medicines, gauze, and disinfectants I could think of. I prepared down comforters and jackets of various thicknesses, hats, scarves, moisture-proof gloves, high-top waterproof warm wool boots, windproof goggles, and masks. I also bought snow shovels, axes, saws, and other tools and weapons that might be needed. I bought all new furniture like beds, tables, chairs, and bookshelves. I didn't want to change or move anything from the original furniture to preserve the way it was when my parents were still here. It made me feel as if the car accident 3 years ago had never happened, as if they had just gone out and would soon return. Supplies were continuously delivered to my house. The property security and neighbors had seen my house being noisily dismantled and repaired. I told them that the house hadn't been lived in for a long time and needed renovation, so they weren't surprised to see the workers delivering goods. After all, who doesn't spend a fortune getting their house ready before moving in? Once I had all the supplies in place, there was only a week left before the cold snap hit. During this time, Oliver called me every day to talk about selling the house. Several times I almost burst out laughing. I had installed surveillance cameras the day I left and watched him call me with feigned affection while cuddling with Abigail. Suppressing my disgust, I forced a strained voice and asked Oliver, "Do you love me?" Oliver answered smoothly, "Of course. I love you, my darling." He then kissed Abigail on the face and said, "Did you hear that, darling? I'm kissing you." As soon as he finished speaking, Abigail and he burst into silent laughter. I crossed my legs nonchalantly and said, "I heard, but why do I feel like you're actually kissing a pig?" Abigail, who was in his arms, immediately jumped up, her face full of anger ready to explode, but Oliver quickly raised his finger to signal her to keep quiet, while he said to me, "Silly girl, don't call yourself a pig. Of course, I'm not talking about myself. I meant, oh, by the way, have you seen Abigail these past few days?" Oliver became visibly nervous, waving his hands at Abigail while saying, "No, why would I see her?" I pretended to be relieved and said, "Good that you haven't seen her. She's been borrowing money everywhere lately to pay off her brother's gambling debts. I've advised her several times but she doesn't listen. The other day when I left, I saw a woman being embraced by a short, fat man entering a hotel. She looked a lot like her, but, well, I hope it wasn't her." Watching Oliver's face change on the monitor and seeing the panic on Abigail's face, I hung up the phone with a smile. Abigail and I were college classmates. Her family favored sons over daughters, and her brother was no good. I felt sorry for her and tried to be as kind to her as possible, even though she sacrificed herself to an older man to help her brother pay off his gambling debts. I only felt heartache for her. I never looked down on her, nor did I reveal a word to Oliver about it. However, despite my genuine care for her, she not only stole my boyfriend but also plotted to take my life. In my previous life, because Mimi kept getting hurt unexpectedly, I installed surveillance cameras at home. I hadn't yet informed Oliver when I discovered him and Abigail engaging in unspeakable acts on my bed. Afterwards, Abigail urged Oliver to quickly deceive me into selling the house and buying insurance. She said that if I refused to comply, he should marry me first and then find an opportunity to kill me. This way, as my only heir, he would inherit all of my family's wealth. My family's assets included just 2 houses and 3 well-located shops, a modest level of wealth, really not considered rich by any standard. I could never have imagined that for such a small amount of property, this friend who I regarded as close as a sister would actually want to take my life. In the previous life, in a fit of rage, I confronted them directly, after I exposed those despicable people. They shockingly pushed me out. That was clearly the apartment I had rented for convenience to work. I was the real owner of that place, thinking about the humiliation of being beaten and driven out, remembering the torture I suffered before being frozen to death, and recalling how desperately I pleaded for them to open the door, even if just to let me take my phone and documents, which they refused. I was filled with hatred. In the surveillance footage, Oliver had already started questioning, while Abigail swore and insisted she hadn't booked any hotel rooms, accusing me of framing her. I watched amusedly as they argued, curious how long it would take them to notice that my belongings had disappeared. I was even more curious to see Oliver's reaction when he discovered the amount of debt he owed. Unfortunately, they only knew my parents left me houses, but not the addresses, so, even if Oliver realized he'd been deceived, he wouldn't be able to find me. I looked forward to seeing his expression at that moment. After turning off the surveillance, I went out to the market to pick up the pork and vegetables I had ordered. When I got home, the cleaning lady had gathered several of my aunts at the door. Everyone entered and got busy, washing vegetables, preparing fillings, making dough. We efficiently started making dumplings, wontons, and frying meatballs, making our own food, ensuring both the ingredients and hygiene were far superior to anything bought outside. I definitely didn't want to risk getting a stomach upset in a dystopian world. I had already rented 5 commercial freezers to store food. With the approaching cold weather, the outdoors would naturally become a giant freezer, so even if the power went out, I wouldn't worry. My aunts were surprised that I wanted to make so many dumplings, and I told them that they were to be donated to a nursing home. While making dumplings, I chatted with my aunts about various topics like the rising cost of electricity in Finland, the extensive purchase of firewood by the public to prepare for winter, and the shortage of natural gas in Germany making heating a problem. Finally, I soberly suggested that although our country was doing well, it was wise to prepare for any eventuality, like stocking up on charcoal. It's better to be safe than sorry. Having it at home meant peace of mind. My aunts, thoroughly influenced by the anxiety I had intentionally spread, all nodded in agreement. I sighed in relief, hoping they would indeed go and buy some. As extreme weather and the end of days approached, saving even one life was worth it. After filling the 5 large freezers, the long spell of hot weather finally subsided, and people welcomed the long-awaited coolness. Yet, I knew this was merely a small sweet treat given before the arrival of death. I started having the vegetable farmer deliver groceries to me. Apart from a small portion of green vegetables and spinach, the rest were all long-lasting storage types, like cabbage, sweet potatoes, and pumpkins. I stored them all deep inside the air-raid shelter. Eventually, I had someone reinforce the doors and windows. I wasn't actually worried about security. When the cold snap arrived, the snow piled up overnight, making it nearly impossible to move around. My only concern was that the heavy snow and cold might damage the doors and windows, which would ruin the inside of the house. After all was prepared, only 2 days remained before the cold was to set in. Oliver finally discovered the massive loans he was indebted for. He called me, asking what was going on. Lying on the sofa, leisurely stroking Mimi, who was snoring on my lap, I lazily replied, "What loan? I don't know anything about that. The money was transferred to your card. How can you deny it?" Oliver was furious. "Haley, what are you trying to do?" "Money," I said, a bit more seriously. "Are you talking about the 1.23 million you transferred to me a few days ago? You finally admit it." Oliver exploded, then realized something. "What do you mean I transferred it? When did I transfer it to you?" I responded with feigned surprise. "What? It was the night before I left. You said you were returning the money I lent you. I told you there was no rush, but you insisted on settling debts clearly, since even brothers should square their accounts." Oliver was clearly stunned. "What are you talking about?" I sent him a photo of a promissory note that clearly stated he had borrowed 1.23 million in cash from me, to be repaid within a year with a 2% interest. Oliver exploded. "When did I ever borrow money from you?" I also acted surprised. "What do you mean? Are you trying to back out now?" Of course, Oliver denied it, howling over the phone, demanding I return the money immediately or he would sue me. I scoffed coldly. Since I dared to do this, I wasn't afraid of his threats. I had already prepared the evidence chain, the promissory note, the record of the large cash withdrawal, and bank CCTV footage, all in order. The promissory note was forged by me, but the signature was his own handwriting. Never scribble your name on blank paper. The record of the large cash withdrawal was even simpler. It was the compensation money from my parents' car accident. Before the Chinese New Year, my uncle was short on funds for a project, so I withdrew it to pay his workers. I was a bit scared to withdraw over $1 million in cash alone, so I brought Oliver along. I remember, after the bank had counted the cash, it was Oliver who carried it. The date on the promissory note was that day. Even if he survived the apocalypse, with such a complete chain of evidence, no judge would likely side with him. Once I had recorded enough of Oliver's attempt to renege conversation, I hung up the phone and went out to eat. I cherished these last quiet days before the apocalypse, enjoying my favorite Sichuan cuisine and buying a large bouquet of flowers before leisurely heading back. During this time, Oliver kept calling and sending furious messages, which I neither blocked nor responded to. Before the apocalypse, his attention was consumed by anger, so he wouldn't notice that I had discarded all the thick blankets and clothes in the rental. Quite good. On the last day before the apocalypse countdown, I checked the air raid shelter's ventilation one last time and secured the doors and windows to prevent the pipes from freezing. After my shower, I turned off the water valve and drained the pipes. Then I brought the bedding, which had been drying for several days, into the bomb shelter and arranged my bed and Mimi's nest. Tonight, I plan to sleep here. The elongated bomb shelter, once the lights are off, resembles a dark, endless serpent. Being alone inside is actually quite frightening, so I set up a wooden screen to visually block out the distant darkness and lay in bed watching series on my phone. I received a call from Abigail, but I didn't answer it. Instead, I opened the surveillance app on my iPad and saw Abigail was indeed there. However, the atmosphere between her and Oliver wasn't as sweet as before. Oliver was visibly upset, while Abigail was frantically redialing her phone repeatedly. Finally, she threw her phone away and cursed. I never realized how cunning she was, all these years, and I never saw through her. Then she turned her anger towards Oliver. "How could you be so stupid, doing whatever she tells you? Are you a pig?" Oliver, infuriated, retorted, "Wasn't it you who always said she was easy to deceive and clueless? How else would I have trusted her so much? Are you blaming me now?" Abigail's face fell. "Or is it true what she said, that the money was what you borrowed from her?" "How could that be?" Oliver shouted. "What about the promissory note?" "How should I know?" I fell asleep to their quarreling, and amusingly, by this point, they still hadn't noticed that my belongings were gone. I woke up at 3 a.m. Stretching my hand out from under the covers, I could feel it had gotten much colder. I put on a thick cotton robe before stepping out of the bomb shelter. The moment I exited, the cold made me shiver, and I hurried down to the first floor. The temperature there was even colder than in the basement. Despite wrapping myself tightly in the cotton robe, I couldn't stop shivering. Trembling, I pulled open the curtains. The world outside was blindingly white, with large clumps of snow falling like cotton balls. The anticipated post-apocalyptic freeze had arrived, electricity was still on. So I went back inside the bomb shelter, replaced my silk quilt with a down comforter, and added an extra blanket on top, wrapped in layers of fabric. I felt a strong sense of satisfaction. Picking up my iPad again, I saw on the monitor that Oliver and Abigail were wrapped tightly in all their clothes and a thin summer blanket, huddled together on the sofa. The heating was on, but Abigail was still shivering, and with a crying tone, she asked, "How come there's not a single thick quilt? How could this happen?" Oliver, shivering, shook his head. "I don't know, Haley always took care of these things." Then it struck him, wait, all of Haley's stuff seems to be gone. Finally, they noticed, lying half in my bed. I watched on my iPad and couldn't help but laugh out loud. They would soon find out that not only the blankets and warm clothes were gone, but also the food. When I left, I had cleared out all the food from the house and discarded it, leaving only beverages. Neither Oliver nor Abigail cooked. They always ordered takeout, so they wouldn't even notice that there was not a grain of rice left in the house. I could only hope that in this freezing weather, someone would still deliver food to them. As I was laughing joyfully, my phone started ringing frantically. It was Oliver. I answered the call. "Haley, you..." It seemed he was so furious he couldn't continue. The only sound in my earphones was heavy panting. I remained silent, quietly waiting, savoring the thrill of toying with someone. It was surprisingly exhilarating. "Haley, what exactly do you want to do?" Oliver took a deep breath and asked in a slower tone. "What are you talking about?" I replied nonchalantly. "You said you were going back to sell the house, but that was a lie, right? You took all your stuff. You never planned to come back, did you?" he said through gritted teeth. "Wanting to sell the house might not have been a lie, but taking my things and not planning to see you again, that part is true." I chuckled softly. "Oliver, you were hoping I wouldn't return, weren't you?" "What do you mean?" "Ha, if you cared about me even a little, you wouldn't have waited until today to notice my things were gone," I scoffed. "And you certainly wouldn't have forgotten that I told you I took a week's annual leave. It's already been more than a week, and you never asked why I hadn't returned." After that, I hung up the phone, switched it to silent mode, and went to sleep. When I woke up, it was 10 in the morning. My phone was full of Oliver's angry messages, which I scrolled through with a laugh. I couldn't bring myself to block him, not without savoring his frantic dismay, a small payback for the torment I suffered in my past life when I froze to death. Opening WeChat, I was bombarded with messages. A few people were joyfully immersed in the snowfall, but most were lamenting their inability to go to work, puzzled by the sudden cold and heavy snow in September. This was, after all, the south of the Yangtze River, yet, whether joyful or lamenting, no one seemed to realize this was a disaster, probably because those who had frozen to death last night couldn't go online. I put down my phone, got up, and went to the kitchen on the first floor. Finding that the gas hadn't been cut off, I started to cook. In such cold weather, of course, a hot bowl of noodles was the best comfort. I boiled the water, added the noodles, and cooked them with 3 splashes of cold water. I took out a large blue and white bowl, added a spoon of lard, soy sauce, vinegar, sesame oil, and a pinch of salt, and then, as a finishing touch, a sprinkle of minced garlic leaves. I lifted the noodles into the bowl, topped them with a poached egg, and poured the steaming broth over them. A fragrant, steaming bowl of yang chun noodles was ready. I took the bowl to the bomb shelter, first pouring some cat food and hot milk for Mimi, then started eating my noodles while browsing the news on my iPad. The noodles were perfectly tender, the poached egg oozed a sugary heart, and the fresh, salty broth was invigorating. I finished the large bowl quickly, feeling warm all over. After eating, I stretched lazily and went upstairs. While gas and electricity were still available, I decided to continue using them for daily needs. Given the uncertainty of how long the cold spell would last, it was best to conserve the small amount of firewood I had. Only then did I realize that the heavy snow had almost buried the windows. Peering through the cracks, I could see large clumps of snow falling fast and hard. Suddenly, it dawned on me, if the snow continued like this, my 2-story house would soon be buried. If it covered the air vents to the bomb shelter, I would suffocate inside. A chill of fear swept through me, yet the fierce snowstorm showed no signs of abating. I couldn't make the snow stop. The only thing I could do was shovel it. I quickly put on my windproof down jacket, a thick hat, scarf, and gloves, then opened the door leading to the terrace on the second floor. I couldn't access the ventilation shafts on the mountain, but fortunately, there were two near the terrace. I just needed to make sure these two vents stayed clear to avoid suffocation. Before this, I had replaced all the doors in the house to open inward and bought a ladder. When I opened the door, the snow on the terrace was piled up to my chin. Luckily, it wasn't icy but still fluffy. Breathing heavily and with great effort, I shoveled all the snow from the terrace into the yard. Relieved that the two vents were not covered, I borrowed a ladder to climb to the roof. To prevent it from collapsing under the weight of the snow, I had spent a considerable amount of money to reinforce the roof with a steel frame. Despite this, I couldn't allow the snow to accumulate unchecked. The roof was large, and in the sub-zero temperatures, my body almost froze solid. My heavy clothes felt as thin as paper against the cold. I gritted my teeth and persevered, but the snow was overwhelming. Just as I turned around, the area I had just cleared was covered again up to my ankles. This panicked me a bit. At this rate, by tomorrow afternoon, the second floor would be buried. Where would I shovel the snow then? I hadn't anticipated that despite all my preparations, I hadn't considered the house wasn't tall enough to withstand a heavy snowstorm. The thought that Oliver and Abigail might not freeze to death on the sixth floor before I suffocated made me choke up. With frustration, after finally clearing the roof of snow, I tied two red ribbons to the vents to mark their positions in case the house got buried. I could use them to locate the vents. Once everything was settled, I went back inside, surprised to find that the electricity and gas were still on. I was genuinely happy for Oliver and Abigail. No power outage meant the air conditioning could keep running, and they wouldn't freeze to death too quickly. The temperature inside the bunker was significantly warmer than outside. I took off my down jacket, hat, and gloves, and changed into a loose, comfortable cotton garment. Thinking it over, I decided to light the fireplace. Though I could withstand the bunker's temperature, seeing the ferocity of the snowstorm, I needed to ensure the vents remained clear. The chimney of the fireplace extended through the vent and curved to be fixed a meter away from it. The heat from the fireplace would make the chimney hot, causing any snow that met it to melt and preventing the vent from getting blocked. The dry wood in the fireplace caught fire quickly, and soon the bunker was as warm as spring. I took off my cotton garment, brewed a pot of tea, and placed it on the fireplace. Wearing only a thick fleece home suit, I stretched lazily on the sofa in front of the fireplace. The tea was my favorite white tea, fragrant yet not too bitter. I poured myself a cup to cool down and picked up my iPad to check the surveillance on the screen. Oliver, his face pale, was cursing furiously. "Haley, that wretch. Once the snow stops, I'll find her. I won't let her get away with this." Abigail, shivering, cried, "Honey, I'm hungry." Oliver didn't respond. Abigail cried louder, "Honey, I'm hungry, 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 hungry." "Who isn't hungry?" Oliver roared back. "Damn it, no one's taking orders for delivery. What can I do? Why don't you have any food here?" Abigail started to lose her temper. "Always eating, that's all you know." The pitiful state of those two scoundrels instantly lifted my gloomy mood. I set down my iPad and picked up my phone, filled with countless missed calls and abusive messages from Oliver, all of which I ignored. There were a few messages from Abigail, checking in on me and asking where I was. Nice try. She still pretended not to know she was with Oliver. I briefly glanced at them and didn't bother replying. I opened the chat group for the building complex, after signing the contract with the landlord. And to keep up with the COVID testing updates in the complex, the lady added me to the group. The group was buzzing about the heavy snow. By now, no one cared about going to work anymore. Everyone was lamenting the water outage and the cold. It turns out the water had already been cut off. No wonder it was so cold. Those two fools didn't even think of heating some water to soak their feet or anything. I first sent a red packet in the group to grab everyone's attention, then kindly reminded them that the weather was unusually harsh and it was unclear how long it would last. I suggested everyone cherish their drinking water, food, and warm clothing and bedding, and prepare for the worst. I advised them to secure their windows and doors. If the snow continued and the temperature dropped further, those without food, drink, or warm clothing might resort to desperate measures to survive. Oliver and Abigail wouldn't just sit and wait to perish. Once they couldn't bear it any longer, they would definitely seek help from neighbors, and I intended to cut off that avenue of assistance. Frankly, these warnings were superfluous. I still remember the day I froze to death. I had knocked on my neighbors' doors for help, asking for a thick piece of clothing or even just for someone to call the police. But no one opened their doors. But I don't hold it against them. In times of great distress, everyone looks out for themselves. No one owes me anything. It's Oliver and Abigail, those despicable People that I truly despise. After giving the neighbors a heads up, I opened Abigail's chat and replied, "I'm at home, where are you?" On the iPad surveillance feed, Abigail looked utterly dazed by the cold, but it was Oliver who noticed my message. He quickly handed her the phone. "Quick, Haley, that bitch, has replied to your message," Abigail, crying, said. So she replied, "So what? Can she send us food, or clothes, or blankets?" Well, she wasn't completely foolish. Oliver slapped her. "Are you stupid? Ask her for her address quickly, so we can visit her to repay our debt once the snow stops." Abigail took the phone, her fingers clearly numb, struggling to type. "I didn't receive a single message for a long time." I turned off the lights and snapped a photo by the fireplace. In the dark background, only the warm fire, the tea in front of me, and some snacks were visible. I sent the photo to Abigail with a lazy voice message. "Oh dear, who would have thought it would snow at this time, and so heavily too. It's a good thing I have a fireplace. Otherwise, I'd really freeze to death." Abigail's expression and movements stiffened immediately, then she gritted her teeth. "She's actually by a fire, she even has food. How can she live so comfortably? How does she deserve this?" Oliver was clearly agitated too. After a moment of shock, he urged Abigail to ask for my address, but instead, she called me, which I promptly declined. I replied to her that I was hungry and going to cook. Oliver snatched the phone and kept calling me. I turned on the do not disturb mode and tossed the phone aside, heading to prepare something nice for myself. Since shoveling snow in the morning had taken a lot of energy, I started by thoroughly washing the already thawed chicken, chopping it into pieces, and blanching it. I then cleaned and cut the potatoes and green beans, heated up the pan over high heat, and once the oil started smoking, I stir-fried the potatoes and green beans. When they were nearly done, I set them aside and added the chicken to the pan along with some scallions, ginger, bay leaves, and star anise. After stir-frying these, I poured in some cooking wine, light soy sauce, dark soy sauce, and vinegar, then added water and brought it to a boil before moving the pot to the air-raid shelter. Today, I used a dual-purpose fireplace that serves both heating and cooking needs. I placed the pot on the stove and let it simmer slowly. If it weren't for the heavy smoke, I would have performed all these steps there as well. This dish, a hearty stew of chicken with vegetables, was my dear father's favorite. It's fragrant, steaming, and perfect with rice. In the rice cooker, I steamed some rice using premium Wuchang rice, which emitted an enticing aroma. In the past, I would hesitate to buy such high-quality rice, but in these apocalyptic times, who knows how long I have left, I decided to treat myself well. About half an hour later, after testing the chicken with chopsticks and finding it soft enough, I added the previously fried potatoes and green beans back into the pot. Stir-frying the potatoes first ensures they don't turn mushy during the stewing, a trick taught by my father. Another 10 minutes later, once the flavors had melded, I brought the pot to the table and quickly stir-fried some greens before starting my meal. But being a kind person, having secured food and drink for myself, how could I forget about Oliver and Abigail? Naturally, I had to show them the delicious stew I made. I grabbed my phone and took several pictures, particularly proud of the one where the glossy, soy-glazed chicken leg rested atop the clearly defined grains of rice, flanked by vibrant green vegetables. It looked so good, you could almost smell it through the screen. I generously sent all the pictures to Abigail. If she couldn't eat it, at least she could look. Watching through the surveillance, I saw Abigail pick up her phone, and upon seeing the photos, she burst into tears. She smacked Oliver, exclaiming, "I'm starving, and you still haven't figured out a solution. What does she mean by sending this?" Oliver was perplexed as he busied himself calling the police for help. "Officer, we have no food or warm clothes. We are freezing to death. Please come save us." I couldn't help but snicker, knowing full well that the police were powerless in such severe conditions. Did they expect the police to fly through the towering snow? Oliver grimly hung up the phone as Abigail clung to him, cursing me and thrusting the phone in his face, demanding, "What does she mean by this?" Oliver looked at the phone, his face darkened with resentment. In the evening, I checked the air vents on the second-floor balcony. The heavy snow continued, and the red ribbons on the vents fluttered wildly in the wind. The chimney of the fireplace emitted steam as the snow met its warmth and evaporated. The snow had piled up to the second-floor windows, and I cleared it as much as I could to keep the balcony accessible. Fortunately, I had extended the vent with a long stainless steel pipe, which should keep it clear for at least 2 days. With the temperature dropping even further, my phone shut down from the cold. Shivering, I hurried back to the warmth of the air raid shelter. Then, I discovered that the surveillance connection to Oliver and Abigail was lost. The entire building was wailing, the power was out, and without electricity, the air conditioning was no longer working, and for Oliver and Abigail, who lacked thick clothes and blankets, it was like enduring hellish destruction. I should have been happy, but at that moment, I just couldn't muster any joy. My phone was flooded with messages, many of which were desperate pleas for help or tragic news about how many people had frozen to death in the snow disaster. I saw nearly all military units, police officers, party members, civil servants, and many volunteers throwing themselves into the snow clearing and rescue efforts. Countless power workers, braving the life-threatening cold of sub-zero temperatures, did everything in their power to reach fault points, risking their lives to climb up the icy, slippery poles to repair power lines broken by the heavy snow. In just one day, there were already reports of several workers either missing or dead. This made my nose tingle with sadness. After surviving a situation where every recollection made my body shudder from the cold calculations of human hearts, I thought I had become as hard as iron. Yet, seeing these heroes sacrificing their lives in the disaster, I couldn't help but cry uncontrollably. I realized I was still too narrow-minded. The world contains both malicious schemers and heroes who sacrifice their lives for the good of the people. After crying, I suddenly lost interest in what would happen to Oliver and Abigail, compared to the heroes fighting against the snow disaster. These two were insignificant like maggots. I searched for nearby volunteer groups and applied to join. Perhaps it was a surge of passion within me, but that night, I slept very soundly, not even dreaming once. When I woke up, it was 7 a.m., the fire in the fireplace had gone out, but the temperature inside the bomb shelter was still bearable. Remembering the appointment made in the volunteer group the day before, I quickly got up, washed with the water from the hot water bottle, and went down to the kitchen on the first floor. Finding that the gas was still working, I cooked myself a bowl of dumplings with fennel and beef filling, my favorite. After devouring a large bowl of dumplings, soup and all, I rested for a while with my belly full, then put on my down jacket, hat, and gloves, and went out to work. The snow had continued to fall all night and was nearly covering the second-floor windows. I started by shoveling the snow off the balcony and the roof, then moved on to the yard. According to the volunteer group's plan, everyone was to clear a path from their doorstep outward as far as possible, then gradually extend outward. As long as there was a path, we could reach people who needed help, but as a girl, I ultimately lacked the strength. After clearing the balcony and the roof, I spent half the day in the yard and only managed to dig a half-meter deep snow pit. I gave up, knowing that with my strength, I would never reach the gate even if I dug to my death. Disheartened, I returned to the bomb shelter and checked my phone. The others in the group were also disheartened, all agreeing that this approach was unworkable. The snow was simply too deep, and with just personal tools, it was impossible to clear. We were curious about how the power workers, soldiers, and police had managed to leave their houses. After some searching, we discovered that some used wooden boards on top of the snow, others tied wide wooden slats to their feet, mimicking sleds, and some purely relied on manpower to dig through. While we sighed in frustration, we also felt a sense of joy and started looking for wooden boards. But my house only had firewood, each piece neatly split by the wood seller, which couldn't substitute for boards. I tried tying the firewood into a small raft-like structure with ropes and strapping it to my shoes, but as soon as I stepped on the snow, I sank down, and the snow buried me completely. Panicking and flailing, thankfully the snow wasn't packed hard, and after struggling, I managed to clear the snow above my head and breathe deeply. Fortunately, I had tied a rope around my waist. Before going down, with the other end tied to the railing on the balcony, pulling on the rope, I managed to pull myself out of the snow. Desperately, I dragged myself to the terrace and released the wooden raft, then climbed up the cloud ladder. This method also failed. I climbed onto the roof and looked around. The houses in the neighborhood were separated by 20 meters, and in the thick snow, only the rooftops were visible. Gray and lid-like, I shouted at the top of my lungs, "Hello, is anyone there?" After a long wait, no one responded. A pang of distress gripped my heart. Could it be that they hadn't survived the cold and had frozen to death? No, that couldn't be right. We still had electricity on our side. They could use air conditioning and wrap themselves in thick clothes and blankets. they wouldn't have frozen to death so quickly. I shouted a few more times until finally, a voice came through. There's someone, overjoyed. I followed the voice and saw Uncle Alex's window. Slightly ajar at the house west of mine, Uncle Alex shouted out, "Is that you, Haley? Do you need something?" I took a deep breath and yelled, "Uncle Alex, are you okay?" "I'm all right," Uncle Alex responded. "It's so cold. Why are you on the roof? Get back inside and be safe." Touched by his rare concern, I felt a twinge in my nose. Uncle Alex usually wasn't very close to our family and could even be a bit harsh. Once, when my mom's dog secretly ran out and defecated at his doorstep, he chased me up to our house and scolded me for an entire afternoon. I rubbed my nose, pushing back the stinging tears, and managed a smile. "It's good to know you're all right. I was just checking in." But then he suddenly sighed. "I'm fine, but your aunt has a fever, and we don't have any medicine at home." Alas, a fever! I was instantly alarmed. In this weather, a fever without medicine could be fatal. Luckily, I had some, but then I was stumped. I had medicine, but how could I get it to him? I voiced this thought out loud. At first, Uncle Alex seemed excited, then fell silent, separated by dozens of meters. We just stared at each other. In my anxiety, a sudden idea struck me. I told Uncle Alex to wait, ran back to the bomb shelter, and grabbed a bit of every kind of medicine, useful or not, tightly packing them into a bag. Then, I fetched my crossbow, returned to the rooftop, and tied the bag to an arrow shaft. Uncle Alex had opened his window, and with a pull of the trigger, the arrow with the medicine soared into his balcony. Uncle Alex cried out in joy and shouted, "Haley, you really saved your aunt's life." It was too cold outside, standing in the snow. I was freezing and couldn't speak. I waved at him and quickly dashed back to the bomb shelter. I added a few logs to the fireplace and shivered as I sat in front of the fire to warm up. Once I finally felt better, I took off my thick clothes. Just as I was about to pour myself a glass of water, everything went dark except for the light from the fireplace. The power was out. I couldn't help but sigh, realizing that things had reached this point. There was no electricity, and I wondered if Uncle Alex and Aunt could make it through. I took out a rechargeable emergency light and turned it on, then checked the time on my phone. It was already past 2 in the afternoon, which seemed to flip a switch in my stomach, and I suddenly felt famished. But at that moment, I wasn't in the mood to fuss over cooking, so I opted for the usual dumplings, this time with a chive and pork filling. I boiled 15 in one go and devoured them all, piping hot. After eating, I felt thoroughly warm and finally started to check the messages on my phone. Thankfully, the network signal was still available, probably because there's a signal tower on the Purple Mountain. The reception was surprisingly good. Even inside the air raid shelter, there were still many messages insulting me, including ones from Oliver and, surprisingly, Abigail. It seemed they were done pretending. Despite the power outage, they were still using their phone battery to berate me. Their dedication was almost touching. I scrolled past their messages and opened the volunteer group chat. The group was discussing how to forge a path through the snow to open a lifeline, but reality defeated every suggestion, and no one had a better idea. As the conversation went on, some people stopped replying, probably because their phones had died. Eventually, I suggested that everyone should give up for now, focus on keeping themselves safe, and wait for government rescue. We were weak against nature, and it was better not to risk our lives needlessly. Everyone went silent. Then, a girl sent a voice message laced with tears. "How long will this snow last?" No one answered her, because no one knew. To conserve battery, I turned off the emergency light and settled in front of the fireplace with a book, reading by the light of the fire, although not as bright as a lamp. The firelight was sufficient. I was sitting on a thick carpet, with a small blanket over my legs, a cushion beneath me, and leaning back against the sofa. It was incredibly cozy. I didn't get through many pages of the book, stretching lazily several times, and eventually, I fell asleep. I woke up cold, noticing that the fire in the fireplace was nearly out. I quickly threw some more logs in, felt thirsty, and drank some tea. After busying myself for a while, I checked my phone and saw it was already 9 in the evening. I continued preparing something to eat, still feeling lazy, so I heated up last night's chicken stew and leftover rice on the fireplace and had a few bites. As I was eating, the bedside lamp suddenly lit up. The electricity was back. I jumped up, turned on the main light, and checked YouTube to find a wave of cheers. Power had been restored in many areas. Amidst the celebrations, someone somberly commented, I wonder what the cost of this electricity was. This post quickly climbed to the top of the trending list, with people expressing their sentiments and praying for the safety of those still struggling with the blizzard and cold. Soon, another trending topic emerged, a government announcement. It clearly conveyed two pieces of information. 1. The snowstorm was weakening. 2. The government would use airplanes to drop salt on the ground to assist with snow clearance, urging residents to stay indoors until further notice. This announcement immediately stirred up a storm of reactions. Everyone was cheering. The snow was about to stop. Spreading salt accelerated the melting of the snow, and soon everyone could expect rescue. A surge of warmth swelled in my chest, eventually rising up my throat to my eyes. Trembling, I put down my phone, covered my face, and sobbed. I cried for the loneliness of losing my parents, for the betrayal in love and friendship that plotted against my life, for my tragic demise in a past life, and for the cold, selfish hearts that offered no help as I faced death. I also wept because, despite everything, there was still sunlight and hope in this world, which pulled me from the abyss of endless misery and resentment. I still hated Oliver and Abigail, and I was still not ready to forgive those who had wronged and insulted me, but I now had enough strength to face a new life. That night, I only managed to sleep as dawn approached and didn't wake up until 3 in the afternoon, wrapped in a thick down jacket. I went out to the terrace where, indeed, the snow had lessened, changing from large clumps to smaller flakes. This cheered me up. Upon entering the kitchen, I found the gas was off. My heart tightened. Without gas, I wondered how Uncle Alex and the others would manage their meals. I thought about asking, but realizing I couldn't help, I let it be. Luckily, there was still electricity back in the bunker. I took the large teapot from the fireplace to the well to wash up. The well water wasn't frozen, but the drain seemed to be, so I simply poured the used water into a bucket. After cleaning up, I carried the bucket up to the terrace on the second floor and poured it out. It was messy, but in these times, I couldn't be too concerned with that. Feeling good, I decided to cook something tasty. I took out some semi-prepared meat, lit the charcoal brazier, set up the grill, turned on the smoke extractor, and started grilling. The meat sizzled quickly, and I added mushrooms to soak up the oil. Then, I took a photo of the sizzling meat and sent it to a new group chat with Abigail and Oliver. I followed it with a voice message. Want some? There was no response. I didn't know if their phones were dead, or if they had frozen to death. I hoped for the latter. It had been 2 or 3 days since the blizzard started. They had no food, no drink, no warm clothes, and no power. I really wondered how they were managing. Thinking about it almost made me worry for them. I picked up a slice of meat, dipped it in the seasoned sauce, and took a bite. Ah, the meat was tender, juicy, and deliciously flavorful, almost making me wish I could swallow my tongue. I had only eaten 2 slices when suddenly a call came through on my phone. It was Abigail. Feeling generous, I cheerfully pressed the answer button and switched on the speaker. As soon as the call connected, a feeble roar came from the other end. Haley, what do you mean by this? While flipping the food on the grill, I replied leisurely. I don't mean anything by it, just showing you the meat I'm grilling. Don't you think it looks good? She was panting, her frustration palpable even through her clenched teeth. Haley, where are you? I'm at home. What I mean is, where is your home? I paused, chopsticks in hand, surprised by her question. Why, you want to come over? The snow is so heavy, you won't be able to make it, right? She gasped for breath and suddenly asked, do you know everything already? What would I know? I replied, about me and... She couldn't finish her sentence. I burst out laughing. I don't know anything, except that my barbecue today smells particularly good. After saying that, I hung up the phone. Honestly, there was nothing much left to talk about with them. The only reason I still joked around with them was to amuse myself in my dull, lonely life. She called again, but I didn't answer. Instead, she kept sending me voice messages, apologies, emotional appeals, pleas for help. I figured she must be delirious from hunger and cold, not to mention that it was impossible for me to rescue her, even if I wanted to. Out of the goodness of my heart, I texted her back. Instead of begging me, you should think about how to save yourself. Besides, aren't you and Oliver truly in love? Even if you die together, at least you'd die happy, right? That made my stance clear. Abigail became agitated and bombarded me with more voice messages. I listened to a couple with great patience, but didn't bother with the rest. Then Oliver also started calling and messaging me. But all I cared about was my food. Still, since we had known each other, I felt I shouldn't be too heartless, so I took photos of the delicious grilled mushrooms and shrimp I had prepared and sent them to them. If looking at plums can quench thirst, looking at delicious food can surely quench hunger, right? I'm just too kind-hearted. The next day, the snow finally stopped, but it got colder. I opened the patio door, stretched my neck to check the air vent, saw that it was clear, and then shut the door and went back inside my bunker. As long as it doesn't snow again, I have nothing to fear. Over the next few days, I stayed inside the bunker, watching series, browsing my phone, playing games, reading books, keeping warm by the fire, chatting, daydreaming. I no longer paid any attention to Oliver and Abigail's situation. There are so many beautiful things in this world. I shouldn't always focus on the trash. I occasionally checked the news to keep up with the situation outside. Snow clearing operations were in full swing, but the snow was so heavy that they could only prioritize important areas first. Residents in less critical areas had to fend for themselves, yet, it was extremely cold. According to official announcements, the temperature outside had dropped to below -80 degrees Celsius. Not just unbearable for people to go out, but even military operations had halted. Even in China's coldest village, the lowest temperature was only -58 degrees. We are all flesh and blood. Who could endure such low temperatures? But while I ignored Oliver and Abigail, they reached out to me. Oliver sent me a selfie wrapped in a soy sauce-colored blanket, smugly saying, "Bitch, did you think taking all the thick blankets would freeze me to death?" Abigail sent a photo of herself wrapped in a men's jacket eating instant noodles, equally smug. "Did you think I had nothing to eat?" Disappointed. Wow, where did all this food and clothing come from? But then I recognized the clothes on Abigail and the background in her photo. It was the home of an old bachelor who lived downstairs, had seen him wearing that jacket, and she was at the old man's place. The old bachelor had a sleazy look and had been reported more than once for sexual harassment. He was also known for not being very clean. Taking advantage never seems to be enough for some people. If you leave anything outside, just a blink, and it's already in his hands. I once went to his house to retrieve a parcel he took by mistake and saw the state of his place, and yet, this kind of person was willing to share scarce supplies with Abigail during such tough times. I knew immediately what Abigail must have offered in return. I didn't say much, just kindly sent her a photo of a grilled mackerel to compliment her meal, while also wishing her happiness with that old bachelor. Then, I posted Abigail's photo in the building's group chat, tagging the old man, congratulating him on securing a bride with just a packet of instant noodles. The group erupted in chaos. Some expressed disdain, others made jokes. Most were amazed at the old man's generosity, giving away precious food when it was unclear when the disaster would end or when government aid would arrive. Some even approached him to trade or buy food. After a while, the old man finally responded, realizing something, and cursed at me for invading his privacy. Innocent. I argued that the photo was sent to me by Abigail herself and that I was just sharing her joy. How could that be wrong? Those who wanted to exchange or buy food were upset, arguing that neighbors should help each other. They were offended that he would give away food freely to others but not help them, clearly showing disdain. Some even accused him of wanting to see them starve. Facing the neighbors' anger, the old man panicked and quickly claimed it was just one packet of noodles, given out of pity for Abigail, who left after eating, seemingly casually. I mentioned that Abigail's household had no food, and she and her boyfriend could only survive by seeking help from neighbors, hoping that the men in the building would learn from the old man and help her. This sparked outrage among the female property owners, who declared that if their men dared to give food to that woman, they would chop them up. Satisfied, I closed the chat and focused on enjoying my grilled fish. This incident made the old bachelor consider two things: whether women or food were more important during such shortages, and what would happen if neighbors knew he had extra food. He wasn't foolish and would surely choose self-preservation. From then on, Abigail would become a thorn in the side of the female property owners, who would closely watch their men to prevent them from giving her even a grain of rice. Abigail and Oliver, if you can still survive under these circumstances, I'd truly be impressed. The cold persisted, and 2 days later, heavy snow began to fall. This made me nervous, fearing that, like last time, my vents would soon be buried. Shoveling snow, dealing with power outages, keeping an eye on the weather and the news, these occupied all my attention. It was 10 days later when I next heard news of Abigail and Oliver. Both had died, Abigail from freezing and starvation, while Oliver was killed trying to break into a neighbor's home to loot supplies. Looking at their photos posted in the group, I was stunned for a long time. Someone mentioned that they had seen male neighbors secretly giving Abigail some food. So why did she still die, and yet Oliver seemed in better spirits? Was it because Abigail loved Oliver so much that she gave all the food she got to him? I scoffed coldly. I knew them too well, both were selfish and malicious by nature, neither would sacrifice for the other. So, there is only one truth. All of Abigail's food was taken by Oliver. As I smiled, I suddenly realized that at some point, my face was covered in tears. I don't know why I was crying, perhaps, it was for the sincerity I offered without reservation, only to be let down. No one can remember how long the sudden drop in temperature in the autumn of 2022 lasted. After the heavy snow finally ceased, electricity was the first utility to stabilize, followed by gas, because it was extremely cold. To prevent water pipes from freezing and causing unnecessary accidents and losses, the tap water was not restored, and officials advised everyone to use snow for their domestic water needs initially. As for other needs, like the disposal of waste and excrement, people were advised to manage as best as they could on their own. The most critical shortages were food and medicine, and the government did everything possible to provide support. Under the extreme weather conditions, humanity was divided into two extremes: those who would massacre for a bit of food, and those who sacrificed their own lives so the vulnerable could eat. But almost everyone was no longer panicking. The snow had stopped, and even though it was still cold and snow was piled up like mountains everywhere, if the foolish old man could move mountains, these difficulties would eventually end in the face of thousands of people. I sat in front of the fireplace, frying small yellow fish on the stove and humming a song, confidently waiting for this day to arrive.